Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Talking Baseball on this Sunday morning as we get ready for Game 3 between the Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals. It has not gone well for the Giants against the Cardinals so far, including the game Thursday night at Rickwood Field where they lost at 6-5. And yesterday, the Cardinals at Busch Stadium come back from a 3-0 deficit. Giants are hitting the ball a little bit. The offense is not terrible, believe me. Hitting the ball a little bit. They got a nice 3-run lead in the first inning. Conforto and Soler got big 2-out hits. And, boy, it's nice to see Conforto hit like that. He drove in 3 yesterday. He's now 6 for his last 54, but he was 4 for 51. So they're going to need him to get that bat going. But the bats are not really the problem. The problem is the pitching. They had a nice 3-0 lead, and then Jordan Hicks in his return to Busch Stadium just didn't have it yesterday. And I've said this many times on the show with Jordan Hicks, there always seems to be a reason that he's got trouble. He didn't feel well, the ball didn't feel right, the humidity, well, whatever it is, he's always got a reason. And I would just wonder how this experiment is going to go, turning him from a reliever into a starting pitcher, because he's now exceeded the most innings he's ever pitched in the major leagues, and they got to be careful with him. And he did not have good command yesterday. So that 3-0 lead evaporated, and the Cardinals ended up winning the game 9-4 behind 4 home runs yesterday. Boy, the giant killer, Paul Goldschmidt, what a swing he's got. Take a look at his swing. When he I'll do it on the stream here, he gets under the ball. Whenever he can get under it and lift it with that power, he can knock it out. And he did yesterday and got him back in the game with a 2-run shot. Number 350 for him in his career. 350 home runs for Paul Goldschmidt. Seems like most of them were against the Giants. He's probably got a dozen or more against the Giants. Then this Alec Burleson is a tough left-handed hitter. This team is loaded with left-handed hitting. St. Louis, that is their story. You got to shut down that left-handed hitting. Burleson hit a 3-run shot, then he hit another one, and then he ended up driving in 5 runs. Boy, and that was the difference there. He made the difference. Then Brandon Donovan hit number 8 for him, and that was another one, 422 feet. The ball was flying yesterday at Busch. Unfortunately, the Cardinals were the ones that got it done. Great defense yesterday. Conforto made a great catch. Ramos made a great catch. The Cardinals had a couple of nice plays. Chapman, of course, had a couple of nice plays, good turns, a couple of double play kind of ball. So it wasn't the basic play. The Giants didn't play well. It's just the pitching has really been a problem. And in the last, I said yesterday, I think they've gone, 17, 18 games, and they've got 6 quality starts. And that means 6 innings, 3 earned runs or less. And if you can't pitch better than that, it's trouble. And they're at the point of the season. This caller yesterday, we took some calls yesterday about Willie Mays and just about baseball as well. And a fellow from Berkeley called in, and he said, look, there are 4 or 5 games under 500, which now they're 5 under 500. How far under can you go before it's real trouble? And I said, well, you stick around 5, 6, you have a winning streak, and, it's not going to take a lot to get into this playoff here. There are 9 teams for 2 spots, and they're all really bunched up within about 3 games of each other. You don't want to go down 7, 8, 9, 10 games under 500, because then you really have to work your way back, and now you're putting a lot of pressure on what should be the pitching staff in the second half of the season. But they got to get to the second half of the season. They're 36-41 now. And to answer his question, I think it's almost panic time that this ball club better get it together. You just don't want to go any further down here. And then all of a sudden have to put the pressure on Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb and Blake Snell to come back, because let me tell you, Hicks is not going to go much further. He may end up in the bullpen. And really, you've only got Logan Webb. Keaton Wynn's on the injured list. Talked to the professor. Professor is on assignment this morning, but I did talk to him. He said this Hayden Birdsong at Sacramento is the real deal. Maybe we'll see him up there. Carson Whisenhunt also is someone we may see up here. They're going to need some starting pitching. And the game yesterday really just brought it home for me. You just can't play these games and give up 6, 7, 8 runs a game and think you're going to get away with it, and you're going to kill the bullpen too, and it's only June. Really, we haven't even gotten to July yet, and it's only 77 games. So Giants have to get it together. And it's not that they're not trying or anything like that. It's just that they've run into some bad luck with the pitching staff, and that has really been their undoing here. Michaelis gets the win yesterday. Giants had him on the ropes. He goes to 6-6. Hicks 4-4. Giants have lost 4 straight, 6 of 7. Cardinals starting to do it. They're over 500 again. They've won 10 and lost 6 in their last 16. But the 4 homers yesterday, that's what did the Giants in. Soler, boy, I tell you, he's having fun. He's hitting the ball. Today they're going to face a tough customer, and I'll set the game up for you in a second. But for Hicks, 4 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, couple of homers, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. Not going to make it for him. 88 pitches, 49 strikes. Michaelis, after the 3 spot in the first inning, only gave up 1 more. 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs. No homers, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Runners in scoring position, Giants are 2 for 7. St. Louis 2 for 7. In June now, the Giants are 7-12 on the road. They're 16-24. Now that's 40 games. That's half the season already. So, you double that. That's 32 on the road and 48 losses. That's not going to work. So they've got some pressure here. They really do. And Bob Melvin, what can he do? He went with Hicks maybe a batter too long, and Burleson hit the big 3-run homer. But you just can't go to the bullpen. Let's get to the cough button here for a sec. There we go. On this Sunday morning, you just can't go to the bullpen. You just can't do it. And he needed Eric Miller or Rogers to get Burleson and not give up that 3-run homer. But I know the feeling that he just wanted to get that one more out of Hicks and get that complete inning out of him and then turn it over to the bullpen. And Jelly came in and did his job. He did give up 1 run with the home run as well. So that's a story of it. I'll say it again. The pitching is the big deal. St. Louis at home, they're 19-15. In the National League Central now, the Giants are 7-7. The series, they're 0-2. They've been swept 3 times this year in series. This could be the 4th. You got to be careful here. And on the trip, they're 1-4 on the trip. We have our contest going. Of course, guess the score of the game today on Twitter at Baseball Marty, and you can win a great dinner for 2 at Original Joe's. And also, Raph does the Secret Santa thing. And he awards someone a dinner for 2 at Soto Mare at 552 Green Street in San Francisco in North Beach. Richie Azzolino and Laura have a great restaurant. It's a ball to go in there. So Raph comes up with some secret winner if you participated in the contest for dinner for 2 at Soto Mare as well. So we have that going too. That Ciani made a nice catch for the Cardinals. He bruised his ribs. Arenado hurt his arm yesterday. We'll see if those 2 are in there. Let's look at the standings a little bit. The Dodgers win last night over the Angels. They're 48-31 now. San Diego beat Milwaukee again. San Diego's won 4 in a row now. Profar and Tatis are hurt, but they got it done against the Brewers. That Terang hit a slam in the 9th inning to make it 6-4. But the Brewers didn't have enough there, and the Padres held on and win 6-4. They're 41-40. They're 8 back of the Dodgers. Ohtani, another bomb last night. The guy just hits 450-foot homers every day, and they beat the Angels, so they're 48-31. Arizona got pasted by the Phillies. Harper a home run, Bohm a home run, and Nick Castellanos, who I thought was the worst hitter in the league, all of a sudden is like 10 for 19. And he's got homers, I think, in 5 games out of 7 and something crazy at the top of the lineup for the Phillies. Their first 5, I'll tell you what they did in a second. They went wild yesterday against Arizona, and Arizona loses that one 12-1. Phillies have 50 wins at home already. Phillies and the Yankees are the 2 best teams I've seen all year long. Arizona's got 39 losses. They're 9 back, and the Giants with 41 losses now. They're 11 back of the Dodgers. They'll get the Dodgers next weekend. And this last night, it was Glasnow pitching against the Angels, and 7 innings, 2 hits for him, 2 runs, 1 earned. There was a catcher's interference. No walks, 10 strikeouts. We'll probably get him, I guess, Friday night. And then on Saturday, Paxton, who goes today, probably get him. So the Dodgers are rolling along even without Mookie Betts. They took care of the Angels last night, 7-2. But looking at this wild card standings, and just let's not even dream about it yet, because the Giants are the last of the 9 teams. But, and I've said this for 2 months now, the key is the loss column. And that's the thing, because you can never get those games back. So if you're close in the loss column, you win 7 of 10, you go on a 6-game winning streak, all of a sudden you're 9th, and now you're 2nd. That's the beauty of what's going on here. So they got to pitch, and they've got to get the pitching straight, or they're not going anywhere. But as far as the race is concerned, Atlanta's got 32 losses, the Cardinals 37, and the Padres 40. Those are your 3 wild card teams now. That's losses. Now, behind them, Arizona 39, Pittsburgh 39, Washington 39. Now, these are not great teams, although Paul Skeens goes today for Pittsburgh. The Cubs have 40 losses. The Giants get the Cubs coming in Monday for 4. Cubs don't hit. Talion pitched great yesterday. May see him at the end of the week, and we'll probably see Steele against the Cubs too. But the Cubs 40 losses. The Mets starting to win now. They got hit hard yesterday by the Cubs, 39 losses. The Reds, 40 losses. And they lost to the Red Sox yesterday. They had a nice lead in that one, too. Montes pitched, and Durant saved the game with a big catch for the Red Sox. They've got 40 losses, and the Giants 41. So, 9 teams for 2 spots, and the teams that are ahead of them in the 3rd spot for the wild card, they have 40 losses. So don't give up hope, but they've got to pitch to make things happen. So that's the way baseball is this year. It's going to be a wild race over the summer, and the Giants have to stay in it, but they're going to have to pull it together. You can't go 10 games under 500 and think things are going to turn around. All right, Logan Webb today. He's 6-5 on the year with a .299 earned run average. His WHIP is 1.19. He's had more trouble on the road than at home, so he is on the road here. In June, he's been pretty good. Look, this is your guy. 27 innings, 25 hits, 11 runs given up. Not great, but 2 walks, 22 strikeouts, and 3 homers. That's great. 99 innings pitched, so his first 2 outs today will put him over the 100 mark. 5 homers in 99 innings, fabulous. 21 walks, 83 strikeouts. Everything he's done has been terrific. Only 1 solo with the 5 homers, so he's got to be careful with runners on base. That's the one thing that jumped out at me. They try to ambush him early. Now, there's a lot of lefties here, and lefties have hit 2 of the 5 homers against him. But that first pitch, 19 for 62, so that's around over 300 without a homer, but they'd like to ambush him on that first pitch. He's got to put that ball down. Runners in scoring position, 259 with 2 out, 231. Not terrible, but not great. Caught stealing, and this is the thing with Bailey. Bailey's got to throw the ball better. And I realize the pitchers are not doing a great job holding runners on. I realize that. But come on. Bailey's got to throw the ball better to the second base than those balloons he's throwing that go into center field or go sort of way off to the right of second base. 11 stolen bases, 2 caught stealing against Webb. So the Cardinals, I'm sure, will run if they can get on. That's the key. You got to get on. So we got to turn to Webb today. They need him. Looking up and down the Cardinal lineup, that Burleson's 1 for 3 with a homer. Goldschmidt 4 for 15 with a homer. If Webb throws that slider away, that sinker away, Goldschmidt will never touch it today. Gorman 0 for 6. And that's about everything. Arenado, I don't think, will be in the game today. He's 6 for 19. Maybe we'll see Craw today. But, I hate to say, this is going to be a low-scoring game. What can happen. It'll be 11-10. But Sonny Gray goes for the Cardinals. He's 34 years old, 8-4 in the year. We saw him in Oakland. He's from Vanderbilt. He's been terrific in his career. He's been hurt a lot. But he doesn't give up hits. 76 innings, only 56 hits. 22 walks and 95 strikeouts. Righties 166 against them with 4 homers. Lefties 246. Opponent's batting average 202. It's his 284th major league start. Again, you could kind of ambush him a little bit on that first pitch, 293. But runners in scoring position, he's very tough, 177. Up and down the lineup. That third time through is when you can get him, so the Giants are going to have to stay close to him. He's another guy, 10 stolen bases, 3 caught stealing. So you want lefties in the lineup, but with Wade, I guess he's still out. I don't think he'll be activated today. I wish he would be. And Yastrzemski out. You know, the Giants have gone, when you look at the lefties of Wisely, Conforto, Bailey, and Trenton Brooks, that may be the lefties against this guy today. So the Giants may have an uphill battle trying to get some runs against Sonny Gray. But as I say, every game is different. You never know what's going to happen. He's been very good at Busch, too. 155 at Busch with a 5-2 record. So that's the lineup today. Logan Webb and Sonny Gray, 4 home runs yesterday, killed the Giants. And we'll see what they could do today before coming home. And don't forget tomorrow, be in your seats early. I say 6:15. For that memorial for Willie Mays tomorrow. And then, of course, there are different things at the pop-up exhibit across the street, open 3 hours before game time. And there will be events during the game on the scoreboard dedicated to Willie tomorrow. So that is something. Don't forget to get out there early. All right. Coming up next, Jerry Grillo. He wrote a book about Johnny Mize. I'm going to hold it up on the stream. The Big Cat. Great ball player. He was a St. Louis Cardinal original, and then he became a New York Giant. He held the record for home runs for the New York Giants at 51 homers in 1947. Who broke it? Willie Mays. Absolutely broke it in 1965.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Fans, this is a note from Chris Maverides, and you know Chris is a wonderful Giants fan. He's got ALS, and of course he was a huge Willie Mays fan. Now, ALS has not taken his ability to think away and his love for baseball, but it is impaired his ability to speak, and he sent me this note about Willie Mays, and I wanted to read it to you. Willie Mays was and remains my idol in life as well as in sports. It's been a rough week for me dealing with Willie's passing. Willie Mays is the reason I fell in love with baseball when I saw him play in 1958 when I was 5 years old. I had the great fortune to meet Willie 3 times. The first time I met Willie was during a doubleheader against the Mets in 1966. My friend's parents took Rick and I to the Stick for the games. Both Rick and I were 13 years old. Mays sat out the second game by sitting in the Giants' bullpen down the right field line. Rick and I went down to talk to Willie. Amazingly, Willie took the time to get 2 new baseballs and autograph them for us. In 2008, 42 years later, I got a phone call from my dear friend Bob Sokoloff in my field club charter seat. Bob is a partial owner of the Giants. He was in Willie's suite watching the game and invited me up to see Willie. Willie was interested in buying a condo in our building across the street from the ballpark. As I got closer to the suite, my nervousness grew. At the time, my ALS, which was diagnosed the next year, was affecting my speech slightly. We had a great conversation. I told Willie I had played with and ruined the long-lost autographed baseball he gave me in 1966. While telling Willie about the autographed baseball, a rookie named Pablo Sandoval hit his first Major League home run. Wow. At the end of the game, Willie gave me another autographed ball. This one I haven't played with. The last time I met Willie was in 2017 to present him with the first copy of my book. It was an unbelievable honor. After receiving my book, Willie, who had a busy day, allowed Lizzie and I the use of his suite for that night's Giants-Dodgers game. Willie's generosity is legendary for good reason. Rest in peace, Willie. Love, your biggest fan. And that's Chris Maverides, 2017 ALS Association Golden West Chapter's Essay Spotlight Award winner. And Chris has been a longtime listener of our show as well. Thanks, Chris.
KNBR, the sports leader.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow. For the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship. Just a quick note about the rooftop restaurant at the Via Hotel, the Hotel Via across the street from the park. They do a wide variety of events on the rooftop, from weddings and birthdays to corporate retreats and special events, holiday events, and any other special occasion you can think of. With stunning 360 views of the skyline, Bay Bridge, East Bay, and of course Oracle Park, the rooftop at Via is truly one of the most unique event venues in San Francisco.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball. A pleasure to bring in Jerry Grillo. That's Grillo. He's written a book. It's called The Big Cat, and it's the life of baseball, and it's a Hall of Famer, Johnny Mize, one of the great hitters of all time. The name is Big Cat, and that is the name of the book. It's put out by Nebraska Press. Jerry, a pleasure to have you with us today. How are you?
Doing great, Marty. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this.
No, we're glad to have you on. Let me tell you a little bit about Jerry, fans, and Jerry can supplement that as we go along. He's a longtime journalist and author of The Music and Mythocracy of Colonel Bruce Hampton, a basically true biography. His work has appeared in Georgia Trend, Atlanta Magazine, Paste Magazine, Newsday, and JamBands.com, among other publications. Jerry, tell us some of your writing background before we get into the Big Cat here, Johnny Mize.
Sure thing. I was a sports writer in a previous life. I covered some baseball back when the Braves were really getting hot in the you guys might remember the early 90s, when they went from worst to first. And I was doing some sports writing at the time with a newspaper a little bit outside of Atlanta, but close enough so that I could cover those games. And that wasn't certainly my main beat, but it was really a lot of fun. Got me hooked into writing more about baseball. I've loved the game all my life, of course, but that gave me a great chance to write about it. And so that's where sort of the roots were. And then you mentioned my previous book about Colonel Bruce. That was a lot of fun. And I was actually planning to write this Johnny Mize book first. But that's a long story. I don't know if you want to get into that or not. But the Colonel Bruce book was fascinating because this was a sort of a niche musician A lot of people in San Francisco might know who Bruce was. He played there a lot with sometimes with members of the Grateful Dead and other members of the San Francisco music scene, if you will. Bruce is mostly famous, unfortunately, for dying on stage during the encore of his 70th birthday in 2017. He died during the encore. It was, every artist I've talked to said, if you're going to go out, that's the way to do it. But it was an incredibly, dramatic, traumatic, everything, all of the above. So that's sort of that's a theme in that book, if you will. That was not meant to be, because I was working on the book before Bruce died, and that sort of changed things. But that was a fascinating and fun project. And I got back to my first love, again, which was baseball, and Johnny Mize. And I happened to live about 15 miles from where Mize was born and died. And so that really made it sort of academic for me. I was an editor at a local newspaper here for a while. It's sort of what drew me to this part of the world. I'm in the mountains of northeast Georgia. And so, you find out that what a small world. Johnny Mize, a player that my father, a lifelong New York Yankees fan, looked up to. When the Yankees acquired Mize from the Giants back in '49, my dad was about 18, and he was really into baseball, and he became a big fan of this old man on the Yankees, who was a specialist who'd come off the bench and at opportune times and deliver the big hit.
Yeah, let's talk about Johnny Mize, and I see why you chose him. Growing up near Demarest, if I said it correctly, Demarest, Georgia.
Yes,
Demarest, Georgia. In northwestern Georgia,
northeast Georgia. Actually, we're almost in North Carolina. We're way up here.
All right, so that's where he grows up. You're near there, but he's got a great story. He's a tremendous hitter, and when I read the book here and I pick up certain parts of it, it comes back to me of what an amazing hitter he was. But like everyone who played ball in the early 30s, which was an interesting time in the country, obviously, during the Depression and things like that. But for Johnny Mize, growing up in the little town, he went to high school, and there is a story how he started in baseball that you explore in the book. That's a good beginning, I think.
I think it's a great beginning. Johnny was into tennis because Demarest was such a small town, they couldn't get enough boys together to play a baseball game. And so tennis requires two people. In playing tennis, he developed this incredible hand-eye coordination because he was a fan of baseball because it was a local college team. He would watch them. He couldn't play yet. He was a kid. He would practice hitting a tennis ball against the wall with a bat. So you can imagine, doing that with a tennis racket or a paddle is one thing. He was doing it with a bat. And he developed incredible hand-eye coordination, and he got very big very quickly. By the time he was 13, 14, 15, the local college coach, because this was a small college town, noticed him and saw that he had some athletic skills. Why don't you come out for the team? The coach knew what he was talking about. So as a high school kid, he recruited Johnny Mize to play for the college team, which wasn't so unusual at that time. Colleges, especially small private colleges, could get away with some things like this. And so as a 15-year-old, he was suiting up with the college men and became a sensation, got a hit in his first time at bat, and never stopped hitting after that.
People should know Johnny Mize, M-I-Z-E, is a Hall of Famer. 1981, he was elected to the Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee, and the book is Big Cat. It's really an interesting story of a tremendous hitter, but he does play on the college team. He's a high school player as well, which is maybe common in those days, but still grabs me when you say it. But here he is. He gets signed by the St. Louis Cardinals, the great Cardinals in the early 30s. And the team with the Gas House Gang. Now, he doesn't get up to play with them when in their heyday, but how does he get signed by the Cardinals? This is a good part of the story, too.
It's a great story, and I think it's very telling about how what a shot in the dark it was to find these needles in the large haystack of the American continent in those days. We didn't have an internet, we didn't have metrics of Baseball America, we didn't have any of this, and so a lot of it was word of mouth. Well, Johnny hooked up, as a lot of guys did, with some local industry teams, and big industry here was forestry. So there were a lot of people cutting trees, and one of the big companies was based in Rochester. Johnny was playing for their team here in Georgia, slugging the ball like Paul Bunyan of the Georgia Northwoods, and the owner of this company told the president of the Rochester Cardinals organization, who happened to be very tight with Branch Rickey, about this behemoth hitting home runs in the Georgia woods. And so Branch Rickey finds out because everybody kept in touch, and Branch Rickey tells his brother to go down and check this guy out. And so that's basically the story of how he was discovered. And he sees him hitting in a small town. He hits the ball about 450 feet. And he signs him to a $150 a month contract.
The Big Cat, B-I-G-C-A-T, Big Cat, Johnny Mize. How did he get the nickname Big Cat? I remember him as Big John, J-A-W-N, because he had that Georgia accent. But what about Big Cat? How did he get that name?
That's a great question. Big Cat, it's one of the stories I explore in the book and what makes it interesting is there's no definitive answer. Johnny used to say that he got it from a teammate who saw him fielding the ball in practice, a gentleman who actually played for the Giants, too, at some point, named Joe Arengo, really a journeyman and not much of a player himself, but he was playing second and throwing some bad balls to Johnny, who was digging them out of the dirt and fielding first base like a big cat, smooth like a big cat. That was Joe's explanation. And that's one story. The other story that I'll share that I think is probably closer to being valid based on what I could find was Bill Rigney, who was a great Giant character for many years, player and then excuse me, Bill Rigney, a player, then a coach, and then a manager. And Bill saw Johnny sort of resting either on the ball field or in the dugout in the middle of this heat of a workout, and he said, "Look at him resting there like a big cat in the sun." And so that was another story. And I've also heard a story that it was a derisive nickname, that they were mocking him for plodding around slowly like a big cat around first because he was a big guy. So there's several stories. I share them all in the book. The best one, my favorite, is Stan Musial, who used to say, well, look at the way he is when somebody throws him high and tight. He doesn't jump out of the way. He just leans back real easy like a big cat and gets back in. And so you have several myths there surrounding the Big Cat nickname.
Very good, very good. Jerry Grillo with us, Grillo. You can get the book, of course, at all the local outlets, the normal ones, but we have the Book Tree in Montclair. David, this year, of course, can get the book for you, and check it out, the Book Tree up in Montclair. You mentioned Joe Arengo, which I'll just amplify just a little bit for the audience. When I first came to San Francisco in the early 70s, I would go to Candlestick, and Joe Arengo at that time would come out and he would introduce the person who would sing the national anthem. And he had a gravelly voice. "This is Joe Arengo." Just like that's how I knew who Joe Arengo, and his name has come up over the years, being connected with the Giants, and of course Horace Stoneham, one of his favorites, had him working for the Giants. So that's my Joe Arengo story. But
that's
look,
fabulous.
It's true. Big Cat, Johnny Mize, and what makes it important to write about him is the guy was a fabulous major league hitter. As you tell in the book, with the Cardinals, he went in the minor league for a minor league tryout with Cincinnati in spring training. They didn't like him. They sent him back to the Cardinals, and then things took off. But you look at the batting average, lifetime .312, 359 home runs, and of course he lost some years in the Navy during World War II. 1337 in RBIs, 2011 hits. And he maybe the most amazing thing is his ability to hit 3 home runs in a game. And you talk about this quite a bit. He's one of the great record holders of doing this.
He did. He hit his home runs in clusters, that's for sure. 6 times Johnny Mize hit 3 home runs in a game, which set a record. Actually, he set the record with, I think, with his 4th. Might have been the 4th time he did it, and that set the record. And then he proceeded to break his own record a couple of more times. Another interesting record in that 3 home run flourish for Johnny is he also holds the record for hitting 3 home runs the most times in a game that his team lost, which is very weird. 5 times, 5 of the 6 times that Johnny hit 3 home runs, his team lost, which is just bizarre. You certainly can't blame the Big Cat for coming through. And he also came through in many times when this team won, of course. But that's one of the unusual statistics about his. The other thing, Marty, he was the first guy to hit 3 home runs in the same season twice, and he did that twice.
Wow. And that is Jerry Grillo talking about the Big Cat, Johnny Mize. It's a great book. And then he becomes a New York Giant. As I said before we lost the connection earlier, he hits 51 homers in 1947. It's the record, the franchise record, until Willie breaks the record in 1965 when he hits over 51. And that was the record until Barry Bonds broke Willie's record. So Johnny Mize, a great Cardinal, great Giant, and then he became this great pinch hitter for the Yankees during their run of World Series titles from 49 to 53. And it's a good book about the Big Cat, Johnny Mize. As I said, you can get up at the book tree in Montclair, and it is put out by Nebraska. So very nice. Jerry, thanks for being part of it. And very interesting writer. And he did a good job about this fabulous hitter. Boy, what a power hitter, Johnny Mize, and a Hall of Famer as well. All right, Glenn Kuiper coming up next right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is the Senior Managing Director of Bridge Bank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheadle, Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridge Bank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it.
Attention, Black family. The godfather of Giants baseball now continues. This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, nice to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball today. We bring in Glenn Kuiper on this Sunday morning. Glenn, how are you?
Good morning, Marty. How are you?
Good, good. Back from my trip to Birmingham and getting used to the time change again. You know, for 5 days you go back and forth. I don't know how you guys did it on the road, and you did it for so many years. Seriously, you know, you'd be on the East Coast, back to the West Coast, and you'd have to do a game that night. How did you catch up on your sleep?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's one of the things that I don't miss was the traveling part, which it can be hard. Yeah, because usually, you know, when you come home from a road trip, for East Coast back out here, you know, Marty, you usually have a game the next night that you have to get to, right? If you come home on a Sunday night from a long road trip, well, there's usually a game on Monday night here at home. So yeah, it usually took a day or two to get used to time change. Plus you had, you know, a bunch of things you needed to do. And then before you know it, it's the end of the weekend and you're back on the road again. So it is a grind. There's no doubt about it. You do get used to it, but it was not the best part of the job, put it that way.
Yeah, no, it got me. Yesterday, I mean, I did the show, and today I feel a lot better. You know, getting that one night's sleep after being gone for 5 days. All right, but while I was gone, obviously you and I haven't talked about it yet, and the passing of someone you loved, and of course Dwayne and Jeff worked with so many times, and that's Willie Mays. I want to get your thoughts about Willie and his passing from you.
Well, I wish, you know, I wasn't old enough to really ever see him play. I faintly remember the 73 World Series, which is obviously not a fair judgment of him. So that's a regret that obviously can't do anything about. Just not old enough to remember seeing him play. But you know, everybody has these wonderful stories of Willie Mays, and they're so much fun to hear because there's just, you know, thousands of stories about him. And you know, I don't have any stories that can match most of the ones you hear about him, but I do remember the first time I met him. We were at the old Scottsdale Stadium, spring training, 1988, and I was down there, and I walked into that clubhouse, and he was there, and somebody introduced me to him, and it was pretty cool. And I remember having a hard time taking my eyes off him because somebody was with me talking to him, and I just found myself just staring at him. You know, and this is 1988, so that's a while ago. You know, he was still, gosh, he still looked like he could almost play. And then I'll never forget this one because it made me feel really good. This was probably maybe 2000, 2001. Giants were in the new ballpark, and I walked into Mike Murphy's office. And at this time, I was doing Giants pregame shows and postgame shows and that type of thing. And I walked into Mike Murphy's office, and Willie was sitting in there, which he did many, many times. And Murph said, "Hey, Willie, you know, this is Glenn Kuiper." And I went over and I shook my hand. I said, "Hey, Willie," I said, "I'm Glenn Kuiper. I do, you know, pregame shows on TV and that type of thing." And he stopped. I couldn't really even finish what I was saying. He stopped me, and he said, you know, in that great voice that he said, "I know exactly who you are, and I think you do a great job." And I remember just thinking, wait a minute. Willie Mays actually knew who I was, which was special enough, and then he gave me a compliment. And I, you know, it's a small thing. It probably lasted a minute. It's not a story that's equal to a lot of the other stories. But to me, it was a big deal because he said he knew who I was, and I never forgot that.
Well, that was Willie. It was incredible, and I've said this on the show and the number of shows I was on this week, that the players would come up to Willie sitting in the clubhouse, and now at this point in life his sight was challenged to some degree, and he'd be telling Angel Pagan how to play center field and the play you made the other day. And I'd say to him, how in the world does he know this stuff? And somehow the mind was so quick, and he understood so much. A brilliant man, really, just brilliant. Never lost that ability. Never lost the way to express himself.
And he never lost that great smile and that great laugh and the great voice, which is something you hear, but you also hear a lot about. And it's sad, but at the same time, it's great to hear all these wonderful stories, and you realize that he was an even better guy than you thought when you start hearing all these stories.
Well, you should try to get out there tomorrow night. I know I've told the fans be in your seats by 6:15 or so, because the Giants will have a memorial for him tomorrow, and then they'll do things during the game as well. So I hope you can get out there and see it tomorrow night.
Yeah, I was planning on it because it sounds like it could be a great night.
Oh, good. So what did you think of Rickwood Field? I was there. Believe me,
I know.
It's a little ballpark, and they fixed it up. They really did make it workable. But boy, Glenn, when you walk around the park and you look at the pillars and the steel and the posts within the seating areas, you feel like you're really back, in 1950 at least, or before that. But interesting. Rich Walsh is going to be on with us in about an hour. He did the minor league game Tuesday night from this little booth on top of the roof at the place.
I know,
So,
I saw that, yeah.
Tell me, what were your thoughts about just the whole event?
Well, it was, I was envious of you for being there. It looked like it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But, it was funny. I Google mapped the ballpark because I wanted to see kind of where it was and what it looked like. And so not what it looked like on Thursday night, but just what it looked like in general before they really started fixing it up. And it is a very old ballpark. I mean, just looking at it, on the internet, but the way they made it look, it seemed like, and watching the game, Marty, that it somehow managed to pull off, being this ballpark that's over 100 years old, well over 100 years old, but it still looked old, but it looked good, if that makes any sense. And I think that's probably kind of the feeling you want, right? You want to know that you're in a ballpark that's, 120 years old, but yet it looked beautiful. That was kind of my just general thoughts of seeing it on TV, is that you could tell it was a very old park, but yet you could tell it was also special. And what MLB and everybody did to make the place major league playable, I mean, that's pretty remarkable as well. But I'm glad you were there, Marty, and it looked like a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Well, it was, and celebrating the Negro Leagues, and so many former players were there, and the way the Giants accompanied them out to the field, and the Cardinals as well, and all the music and everything. I don't know. I thought it came off very well and put the spotlight on people who needed the spotlight.
Yeah, and I mean, in the big picture, Marty, that's what it's really all about. You and I talked about this, last Sunday, how anything that can be done by Major League Baseball, by individual teams, by people in the media like you and I, to get more recognition and awareness out about how great these Negro League players were, then that has to be done. And I just thought, with the statistics going in and with games like this, where that's all that's talked about, I think that's very important because, these players deserve this, even though many of them are not around anymore, unfortunately. But one thing that, and it got me thinking, Marty, when I went to the museum last year in May, the first thing that I felt when I walked out of there was, I'm a baseball guy. I think I know history. I think I know the game. And I realized that I had not done a good job of studying and understanding and becoming more aware of this big piece of baseball history that I needed to study more of. And it's something I've done in the last year, Marty, with the Negro Leagues, and just learn more about the players and how it happened, the things they went through. And I feel like it's made me a better baseball person, right? And then you watch what happened on Thursday night, and you see some of these guys out there. It was great to see, and you hope too, Marty, is it just makes people want to say, you know what, I need to learn more about that. I need to learn more about the Negro League players, what they had to go through. So you hope that people educate themselves more. And if they do that, then there's more appreciation, there's more awareness, there's more recognition. And that needs to continue, quite frankly, for a long time.
Yeah, and the other thing I thought about, Glenn Kuiper with us, always a pleasure to have you on the show on these Sunday mornings. I look forward to it. The period of history that we're talking about, the Negro National League started in 1920 with Rube Foster. And, of course, we look to the statistics that we ended at 1948. It's only a 28-year period.
That's true.
It's a short period of time of American history, of everything that went on during that period, and as you just described it. But when you go back and try to get the statistics and try to understand it, it's really only a 28-year period of baseball history. So there's a lot to be done, and they did it well. I agree with you. They did it well. Boy, that was something. I was glad to be there. Really, it was very moving. Very moving. Let's switch to the Giants here a little bit. You were a minor leaguer for the St. Louis Cardinals. Did you ever hit 4 homers in a game?
Are you trying to be funny, Marty?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
You had the Kuiper power, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why I'm sitting here talking to you. But yes, 1 year in the Cardinals organization. Let's see, a big leaguer that I played with, Todd Zeal, was a teammate of mine in Erie, Pennsylvania, back in 1986, and you could tell Todd was going to be a big leaguer right from the start. So it's amazing when you're playing at a lower minor league level, and you see certain guys that are just better than everybody else, and they just have a different look to how they play. And Todd Zeal was one of those guys, because you got to see him every day, and you're like, yeah, I think he's probably going to be a big leaguer, and he did. Todd played for many, many years in the major leagues. So, but no, I don't have any allegiance to the Cardinals, Marty. It was a long time ago. Put it that way.
All right. Well, look, let me tell you, I said it earlier in the open today. The Giants got to pitch. The hitting is not terrible. The hitting, Solaire's starting to hit a little bit. He's having fun, and Conforto broke loose yesterday, and Bailey's still doing his thing. And, they're still getting some runs when they need it. Not tremendous, but they're getting it done. But, Glenn, they got one pitcher right now. Hicks really fell apart yesterday, and I don't think he's looking real good as a starter. Well, what's going to happen here?
Yeah, I think, Marty, it seems to me in watching them in this last week or so is I think this shortage of starters, and you knew this was going to happen, but the shortage of starters and the extra workload that has thrust onto the bullpen, I think it's starting to show now. And you knew at some point it was going to, but you're going out there with 3 starters and Hicks and Harrison. Harrison's on the IL now, but those 2 were only going 5 innings. That whole problem, I think, is catching up to him now, and you knew it was going to. And now the bullpen is starting to struggle some. You're asking guys to go 2 innings when they are probably better off going 1 inning, and so that's a major concern. And Marty, they just started a stretch where they got 15 games in 16 days. So what the heck is going to happen? I don't know. But yeah, it's concerning right now. They need to get through this week. They got 4 against the Cubs, 3 against the Dodgers. You need to survive this week, Marty, and then hopefully, Snell's back, and Harrison, he should be back next week, hopefully. So you got a couple guys back. But again, that's still a little ways away. And, so I'm a little concerned right now because it's not great. And I don't know what's going to happen, in these first 3 games against the Cubs. I mean, we may see some kids called up from the minor leagues to start. I don't know that. I haven't heard that. But what else are you going to do, right? I mean, we don't know who's pitching Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Well, Woes talked to me yesterday, said this Hayden Birdsong's the real deal. So maybe he'll be up, and Wisenhunt is there too. But
And I saw, I thought about whizzing on too, Marty. He last pitched on Wednesday, so he'd be lined up to pitch Monday, but I haven't heard anything about that. But he's not on the 40-man roster either, so you'd have to put him on. So there's always the 40-man roster ramification. But I don't know. They it seems to me that they're going to have to bring one guy up or a couple to pitch in the next 3 days. I mean, it just looks that way unless they know something that I don't know.
Yeah, and they need Wade back too. You'd like to have him in the yeah. You'd like to have him in this lineup today. You've seen Sonny Gray a million times. What can you tell us about Sonny Gray?
He has, I think he probably changed his repertoire a little bit, but he's still Sonny Gray. He comes right at you. He's not afraid, and you got to go after him today. So it doesn't help when you desperately need a win today, and then you got to face, maybe the Cardinals' best guy in Sonny Gray. But the Giants do have Webb going, which is always, a good thing. But Sonny Gray, I mean, he's amazing. I mean, I saw him. I remember his major league debut. He came out of the bullpen in Pittsburgh and pitched a couple innings, and he's this little guy coming in. And I remember he wowed us even in a little 2-inning relief appearance coming out of the bullpen. So we had a pretty good idea that he was going to be good. I think that may have been 2012, maybe 2013 when he made his major league debut. So never easy for the Giants, but at least, Marty, today they have Webb lined up.
Yep.
And the back end of their bullpen guys, Rogers and Walker and Doval, they've had a couple days off. And, that's the way they need to look at it today, because you desperately need to win a game today.
Yeah, they got to play a good game today. And if it's small ball today, whatever, maybe it's hot there, the ball be flying. Sonny Gray can give up a couple of home runs there. He hasn't given up many, only 6 in 76 innings. But, they got to play a good game, pitching and defense. And they got to move a runner along and cut down on the stolen bases and all that stuff. So, this is going to be a good week of baseball. When you and I talk next Sunday, we're going to have a lot to talk about, believe me.
Yes, we are. And what you hope for, Marty, is good news on, on Blake Snell and Robbie Ray. They're starting to get closer, but it's still a couple weeks away. But, this is a very, very important week for the Giants. They got to survive this and not let this thing get any worse.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, hey, have a good Sunday. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Marty. See you.
All right, have a good day. That is Glenn Kuiper. Always a pleasure on this Sunday morning to catch up with him. He's very, very blunt about the Giants, and he can analyze it pretty well. They lose yesterday 9-4. Got to play a good game today, and they've got their guy, Logan Webb, going today. Sonny Gray, he's a tough customer, but look, the Giants can beat him. We'll see what happens today. Coming up next, Bruce Jenkins right here on the Sports Leader. Fans, it's great to have you back with us. We're joined by Grant Power. He's the president and CEO of Nations. Grant has been with us before and talked to us about the new concept at Nations, franchising. Grant, how is that going?
It's been fantastic, Marty. Just 2 weeks ago, we sold 5 franchisees in Dallas to an investment group, and we're deep in discussions with what appears to be our first sell of a franchise in San Jose.
Grant, how does someone get in touch with you to discuss this even further?
You can always go to our website, which is Nation's Giant Hamburgers, and Google us there. But quite frankly, I'll say it twice here. My cell phone number is 510-612-0036. 510-612-0036. The build-out cost is expected to be about $850,000. We have a great relationship with a banker who's an industry leader when it comes to SBA loans for franchising. The main cash requirement is somebody having $200,000 in cash. The good news at the start of this process is almost all of the best locations are still available. They have $200,000 in cash, and they're animated by working with people, and they love the restaurant space. I can't think of a better investment opportunity.
It's Grant Power, President and CEO of Nations Giant Hamburgers. Fans, I heard from Gene Bagato up at Bodega Bay, and with the arrival of summer and the ensuing warmer weather, there's no better place to escape the heat than the Sonoma coast. Up at the Tides Wharf restaurant in Bodega Bay, there's something for everybody, from the always popular fried calamari and New England clam chowder to an in-house smoked fish and the Bodega Bay burger made with fresh chuck ground daily to ensure top quality. In the fish market, I love the sand dabs, one will find everything needed for a picnic at the beach or just to take home. And if you're looking to stay a while, the Inn at the Tides is just across the highway, waiting for you with its spacious rooms, all with bay views and a heated swimming pool. So if you're looking to get away this summer, remember the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in scenic Bodega Bay.
Look through the window of the original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty Laurie and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
All right, good to have you back with us on this Sunday morning as the Giants try to avoid the sweep of the St. Louis Cardinals here as they lose yesterday 9-4. Bruce Jenkins, good morning on this Sunday. Thanks for being up with us.
You bet. How are you, Marty?
Good. You know, I keep looking at the record, 36-41. That's 77 games. You know, another 5 games, or 4 games, really, we're at the halfway point of the season. You know, this thing is starting to, you know, they're going to have to start pitching pretty soon. This is not good what's going on here the last week or so.
No, it really isn't. And, 11 games out behind the Dodgers now, which is a kind of a jolt of reality. It's reached a point where, those kinds of numbers really, there's a lot of meaning. And, the Giants have to pitch or, they're not going to go anywhere. And they got Logan Webb today, so it couldn't be a better time for him because the rotation is struggling. Wynn had a bad outing. Hicks had a tough one. And it's just, they've got Logan Webb going. And if they get Snell and Robbie Ray back, then maybe there'll be a little sunshine.
Well, and the thing is also that they will come back. I know Snell is rehabbing either yesterday or today, and Ray is already, going to, get into a game. They will come back, but when they come back, they better be good. That's
kind
that's
of what I meant. That they need them to be what you would expect from them.
Yeah. They've got to come back, and Harrison's got to come back. So the pressure is not just to get him on the field, and Cobb is another one. They got to come back and be effective, and that's the thing. But this crazy race here for the wild card, and not to think it's going to be any different most of the summer, but there are 9 teams here that are bunched up within 4 losses of the top to the bottom for the 2 spots, and that is a reality.
Yeah, that's always something you can look at if you're looking for some signs of encouragement, and they're right in the middle of that. And I don't know if that's going to change a whole lot. I don't know if any of those teams is all of a sudden going to reel off 11 out of 13, and
right.
That's not going to happen. So, we're probably looking at something like that in September. If the Giants are there and they do have a healthy and strong rotation, then it's going to be good. But it's not great when you're that far under 500, you're that far out of first place, and it's hard to get super optimistic. And there are a lot of other teams that feel the same way about the wild card. So, the drama will be the most important thing.
Yep, this is going to be a story. One way or another, this will definitely be a story. Well, we saw the first pitch clock violation walk-off to determine a game. Washington, Colorado, and Colorado the beneficiary of Finnegan of Washington, who leads the world in pitch clock violations. He's got 9, and he ends up with the bases loaded 3-2, and he takes too much time. A walk to Ryan McMahon, and the Rockies walk it off as a winner. How about that?
Yeah, he's got way more of these violations than anybody else. Like I say, he's got 9. You'd think that they would have fixed it by now at the worst possible time. So we have our first ever walk-off via a pitch violation, which is really depressing, by the way. That's hard to watch. I mean, it's just so wrong. It's so not baseball. Say, what? Hold on, game's over. That's wrong.
Yes, it is. There's something wrong with that. And look who the umpire was, Hunter Wendelstedt, who, of course, is the son of Harry Wendelstedt, who made the infamous call on Dick Dietz, that Dick Dietz didn't get out of the way when Don Drysdale hit him with the bases loaded and kept Drysdale's streak going, that he ended up breaking Walter Johnson's record, which has since Hershiser has broken it. But the Wendelstedts are still in the middle of craziness.
These are by the book umps. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Like you mentioned that Dick Dietz, Drysdale's got this streak going, and he hits him, but Wendelstedt ruled that he didn't get out of the way. That's a hell of a by the book call there. I remember that really well because Drysdale was sailing along but Dick Dietz, the name comes in today.
Yeah, God. Going back to the Giants a little bit, it was good to see. I think Soler is ready to break loose a little bit. He looks like he's a better hitter, and they needed Conforto yesterday, and he got it going a little bit too. But the Soler thing, Bruce, I think it's just a matter of time. I think he's going to start doing something big.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Conforto. He did have a couple of hits, but he comes in 4 for 51. You can't have that. But Soler, he drives in a run with a single in the third. He can't hit a ball any harder than he hit it. It turned into a 5-4-3 double play, and he's starting to hit some rockets, and that's just his track record. He's you expect big things from him. Yeah, it looks like they might start getting him. And Lord knows they need it really bad. If he starts showing up, the way he's played, his track record is very good. So his baseball card looks good. So that's what we need.
Yeah, he had a rocket. Boy, Arenado is terrific. I know he got hurt yesterday, but, watching him and Chapman at third, isn't it interesting? Anything hit to these guys, they just put it away. Isn't it something?
Yeah, it's just the best. I don't know how Arenado even saw that thing, let alone snag it without bobble or off his knee or something. But they're pretty much the standard. There's a lot of good third basemen. McMahon for Colorado, you don't hear much about. He makes great plays. Machado makes great plays. But those two guys coming in were the standard, and they really lived up to it. And Matt Chapman, real lifesaver for the Giants, almost daily.
Boy, this home run thing every night, it's either Judge or Ohtani, and last night it was both of them. Judge hit the home run for the Yankees, and it's number 285 for him. in his 912th game. So I started thinking about this. I said, well, that's 6 full seasons, I guess, at 162 games each. And, he's like 40 homers a year right away.
No, yeah, I mean, you wonder why he stayed in New York. He hit yet another line drive to right, which Derek Jeter used to specialize in this. This is a line drive to right, gone.
Right,
in the first,
really?
It's in the
Isn't
first
that
3
funny?
rows. I mean, the cheapest home run you could imagine. Judge has it down. He's got an off-field stroke, and to his credit, he got another one of those yesterday. But how about 2 triple crowns in the bigs this year, Marty?
Yeah.
Judge is leading in homers and RBIs. He's hitting 301, and the leader's at 314, Bobby Witt, very catchable. And Ohtani is leading the league in hitting at 321. He's leading in homers, and he's in the RBI race with Ozuna and Bohm. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm glad you brought it up. Ohtani 321, Profar 320, Witt 314, Arise 313, and Ozuna 312. Ozuna's really hung in there. And then you get Judge 28 homers, Henderson. How about that kid? How about Henderson for the Orioles 24?
No, yeah, I love that. That kid is unbelievable. He's a great fielder. He symbolizes what's going on in Baltimore. There's so many good young players, more on the way. They just play a real exciting brand of baseball. And to have a shortstop who with that kind of power, Bobby Witt's doing that sort of thing too. But Henderson's kind of the standard of good young shortstops with power.
So this weekend, Ohtani comes in, and look, there's no Mookie Betts. Ohtani's leading off now. You got your reaction to that. But, Bruce, every day the guy hits a ball 450 feet. I mean, come on. He did it again last night, and it's really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. What if he were to win the Triple Crown? I mean, good grief, Marty. This guy, every year, I mean, when he got hurt last year, like a month ago, he was leading the league in all these things, and he wound up still being in the top, 3 or 4, missing all that time. But yeah, that's obviously the showcase coming in. He's probably going to put one in the bay, maybe more than one. But he might hit one that it almost goes that clears the left field bleachers. This guy's got so much off-field power. But I mean, the Dodgers are kind of reeling right now. They got a really good start from Glasnow yesterday, which they needed really badly because Walker Buehler's out again with a hip, and Yamamoto is also out with a rotator cuff issue. So they're that rotation is kind of broken right now.
Yeah, they have Knack going, and Stone is still in there. Yeah, but this Ohtani thing, we get to see him next weekend, which, that's going to be a story. The other one is Stephen Kwan, the kid from the Bay Area. Have you followed this one, Bruce?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Stephen Kwan, just looked it up this morning. He's hitting 390. And is slugging 564. This is a guy who was known for not striking out.
Right.
I think he comes from Oregon State, and of course he's a Bay Area East Bay kid. Mm-hmm. But Bruce, the guy's hitting 390 with an on base of 449. Yeah,
you don't see him in the Sunday stats that we all see every week, or any of the daily stats. He doesn't have the at bats. You have to have 3.1 plate appearances for every game your team has played. He just doesn't qualify. But I mean, he had a hitting streak. At one point, he went 26 for 51 during this streak. And like I say, he doesn't strike out. He hits the ball to off field. He homered yesterday. What an amazing kid! He was exciting in the outfield, and he's a big reason why the Indians are doing the Indians. Well, there I went. Where's Kuiper? Kuiper just applauded why the Guardians are doing so well. But we've got Luis Arias all over again. Arias was hitting 401 through like 78 games last year.
I love it. And let's talk about the Guardians. I'll say it, the Guardians. Look, Stephen Vogt has done a great job. And look, if you have a bullpen, Tony La Russa said this years ago, show me a good bullpen, I'll show you a good manager. Show me a bad bullpen, I'll show you an expletive-deleted manager. and this Clase is just lights out, and Stephen Vogt is getting it done. And look, Cleveland's going to win that division.
Oh, yeah, they are. I mean, like you say, they got the bullpen. Clase is the most dominant closer in the league right now. And then you go through the lineup. I mean, Quan kicks it off, but you got Jose Ramirez is ridiculous. He's way up there in those RBI numbers, as always. The Nailers, Bo and Josh Naylor, the brothers from Canada, are really exciting players. They love the moment. Jimenez and, geez, that team. Like you say, I don't know what stops them. I really don't. They're really a really fun team to watch, despite losing their name and being called the Guardians.
Why? I can't
we don't know
tell
what they're guardians of. I guess they're guardians of the division.
I'll never figure that out. You got to be You got to be from Cleveland, see the bridge, and see those statues. That's the deal, to try to figure it out. Well, who can catch them? The Twins. And boy, yesterday, I don't know if you saw this thing at the Coliseum yesterday. Bailey Ober. For Minnesota, complete game, 89 pitches. This is Maddox territory. Bruce, he threw 70 strikes.
I could watch that all day. I love that stuff. Yeah, the Twins, you can't really count them out. I mean, Royce Lewis is back, and he comes back and he starts homering again. He's hit like 10 homers in the 17 games he's played, and Correa is absolutely going off. He's just having a fantastic year, and you think about the Giants had a big flirtation with him, and they did the right thing at the time. It looks like his foot may never heal, and it took a while, but all of a sudden he looks like Correa in the vintage Houston days.
I wanted to bring that up this morning, and you just said your thought about it. I wish he would have been here. And now that I see the ball club, and who knew what was going to happen 2 years ago, that Luciano would kind of still be struggling and they wouldn't really have a shortstop and Craw's gone and all that. But he's that quarterback. He's the guy who does that for a team that the Giants, I think, desperately need, the guy who's going to be here for 10 years and, not opt out and all that kind of stuff. And I think he could have done it. 308 this year, 369 on base, 498 slugging. And I realized he didn't do that last year at all. But I think when I think back on it, I kind of wish Correa was here.
No, for heaven's sake, yes. I mean, he's a leader. He's a winner. He comes up big. He's a great guy. He's an absolutely when they were trying to get him, they still had Crawford and they weren't sure what was going to happen. But right now, good Lord, should he be there?
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to see Craw today. If Arenado's hurt, I think his forearm got hurt yesterday. We'll probably see Craw at third again today, I imagine. It'd be nice to see him. I like watching him in the game. I saw him Thursday night playing in Rickwood. They played him at third.
Yeah, I think he's something like 8 for 43 with the team. He gets very few chances. I mean, he's completely, stone cold. Every time he appears, he says, "Where's he been?" And it's pretty hard to make any noise. But he's just they like having him. The kid Wynn is really, really good.
Isn't he?
Oh my God, both two-way player. He was very well spoken during the Rickwood interview. He's just a champ. But they like having Crawford around.
Yeah, boy, that's a very left-handed team, I'll tell you. You got to have, and I know yesterday it was one of those baseball moments with Hicks, and Bob Melvin doesn't want to go to the bullpen every single day and every minute. But Hicks was struggling, and that Burleson came up, and I know they're 2 out, and I know he just said, let me just get one more out from Hicks, and then I'll get him out of there, for the next inning. And, of course, that's when Burleson hit the 3-run homer and, put the Cardinals ahead. And I think that one of the issues is, for Bob Melvin, is that he just can't manage the way he wants because he can't use these guys every day.
Yeah, well, it's tough when you don't get a good start, then things start to get a little iffy. But, yeah, these are the new Cardinals. Burleson, Carlson, Donovan, you don't know who some of these guys are, but yeah, I mean, and then Burleson homers again off Jelly. I mean, good grief. The Cardinals are definitely not the team we saw earlier here. They've really starting to get it together right now, and Sonny Gray goes today for them, so that's a heck of a good pitching matchup. But
well, you better have some left-handed bullpen ready today to get these guys. And now Gorman's another one; they're all left-handed, and at some point, you got to have your lefties ready. So both Rogers guys today. Well, you need Webb obviously to give you the game, but if it comes up, those lefties better be ready today. I was looking at the Phillies, and of course the Phillies are on fire now. They've won their 50th game already, and it's not even the halfway part of the season for them. But boy, you look up and down the lineup, Bruce. Harper, Turner is back, Schwarber. Believe it or not, Castellanos is actually hitting, which I cannot believe after watching this guy. And this Alec Boehm, their top five is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think that's a surprise at all that Castellanos hitting. He's had a rough go, but he's got a history of some big hits, big power, big swing. He can go into a slide, but he's a guy for the moment for sure. Harper gets 4 hits yesterday, puts one on the second deck. Then Boehm homers. Rough outing for Arizona. I think it was Tommy Henry pitched yesterday,
Yeah.
And yeah, just a great lineup. And I noticed Christopher Sanchez goes today for the Phillies against Arizona. They just extended him.
Yep.
It kind of made news. I'm thinking, well, who is he? I haven't heard much about him, but he had a great outing against San Diego on Monday.
Yep.
And he's a godsend in the rotation. Wheeler was great yesterday. So yeah, the Phillies they're so impressive. They're going to win it. They could get to the series.
Yeah, I think so. Sanchez 4 years, $25 million, which begins next year for him. Now the Pirates. Paul Skeens pitches today.
Oh,
and
my.
Again, with this crazy group of 9 teams, with pitching like this, and again, when you have young pitching, you don't know how many innings they're going to allow them to pitch. This is the new issue of baseball. We never had this before. The pitcher would go, and if you got in the pennant race, the guy took his turn, and you didn't think about it. This
Right.
thing, every day you got to say, well, how many innings has this guy pitched so far? So Skeens goes today. But the point for me with the Pirates was McCutchen yesterday, Bruce, and I don't know if you saw this. He hit a triple. So he becomes one of Aaron, Mays, and Robinson, who have 2,000 hits, 400 doubles, 50 triples, 300 homers, and 200 stolen bases for Andrew McCutchen. How about that for a career?
He makes the Mount Rushmore. Those 4 guys. That's you can't get any better than that. And it's just so great. We didn't have much McCutchen long enough here for sure, because he's one of those guys. He's a Torrey Hunter kind of guy that just is so valuable in so many ways. And here it's many years later, he's still just raking. But I'll tell you, here's a matchup to watch with Skeens today. They're playing Tampa Bay. Jose Siri. This guy is a full-on showman. He's a guy he homered off Mason Miller. You don't see that. I don't know if we've seen that at all, but he hit a homer off the A's closer who's been totally unhittable to keep that game alive. The other night he stepped in front of the right fielder to throw a guy out at third, just a rocket. He dances around. He fully celebrates everything he does, and he's going to face Skeens, so that's going to be a live wire matchup today. Wow.
And O'Neill Cruz put one in the Allegheny yesterday.
Yes, he did, and he ended the game with the throw. He took his time just to say, I'm just going to let this guy run a little bit. Then I'm going to gun him out with the strongest throw you've ever seen.
Not good. You don't want to do that. You don't want to fool around. But they're starting to, they have their rotation. And Brian Reynolds finally got hot. He's got a 19-game hitting streak going on now. The other one I wanted to mention to you was this Jackson Merrill of San Diego.
Oh, my.
What a swing this kid's got. Bruce, I bring it up for this. We love the Giants, and, we talk about Luciano and this one and that one. And Ramos, finally got hot. It looks like maybe.
You there? Yellow.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
This is Sandra G here, and hello, baseball fans. I'm coming to you from the field here at Rickwood. We're in Birmingham, Alabama. The Sayhays are taking on the Hammers. Bay Area native Jimmy Rollins, thank you so much for taking some time. You and I have just been sitting here behind the fence as they're taking batting practice for the celebrity softball game, but can you just tell me, what are your first thoughts on the significance of being here at Rickwood Field?
This was a can't-miss event. When I learned about Rickwood Field and the history of it, the Black Barons and the Barons, how when the Barons were playing, the Black fans couldn't really come to the games. And when the black players were playing, anybody could come. And this was a must-see game. The players that played at this field that went on to become all-time greats, in particular, while we're here today, Willie Mays, to step on this field that he played on, to look out and see the things that he saw. Maybe not all the same advertisement, but this was their field. And this is a part of my history. This is part of my legacy as a black baseball player. So when this opportunity came up, I was going to do whatever it took to get here, and I'm glad that MLB is finally taking those steps to recognize the contributions of black players in a major way, not just, behind the scenes, a little blurb in social media, but to really bring teams here to experience this and to give people of Birmingham a welcome back into the MLB talks.
Jimmy, as we look to our left over here, down the third baseline, Willie Mays' Hall of Fame plaque has made its way to Birmingham, Alabama, here at Rickwood Field, all the way from Cooperstown. Tell me about your relationship with Willie Mays, what it means to have that plaque here, and just your initial reactions to Willie's passing.
Willie was great. He's one of those people that if you're a real baseball player, real baseball fan, you revere the man. And the first time I had an opportunity to meet him, I didn't want to shake his hand. And it wasn't because I wanted to shake his hand. I just didn't have the courage to go up and shake his hand. Like, I know who you are, but I don't know if you know who I am. And I don't want to be presumptuous. So just being close enough and, making eye contact with you and getting a head nod, acknowledgement, that was enough for me. And it really was. It was Willie and Hake. We were honoring them in New York. But a few years later, I was in spring training with the Giants. And, coming to the clubhouse, I had all the instruction. Hey, there's Willie's table. Do not sit at Willie's table. He'll call you over when he wants you there. Willie came in, and sure enough, in his high-pitched voice, "Where's that Rollins?" And I turn around. I think I'm in trouble. Like, really? You calling me? Rollins, come here. And all he wanted to do was talk baseball. He wanted to compare stats. He wanted to talk about himself as a player. He wanted to learn about you as a player. What I took from that is, yes, he's a legend outside of this clubhouse. He's a legend inside this clubhouse, but he never left the uniform. He's always a player first. And, yes, I'm Willie, but let's talk. I'm one of you guys. I'm no different other than I'm probably one of the greatest, but I'm really no different. Come up to me, talk to me, don't be afraid. And at that point on, every day he called me over. Where's Rollins? Here's another conversation. To finally, I knew I wasn't supposed to sit at Willie's table, but I knew he was coming in. I beat him to the table. He walked in. I'm like, where's Willie at? And he started cracking up. And it was, it just became that type of relationship. And I wish I had a chance to hang out with him more, but the times I did get with him were special.
This is Sandra G. here. We're at Rickwood Field. I'm with Jimmy Rollins. And can you just tell me, as a kid growing up in the Bay Area, what did Willie Mays mean to you as a kid? Oh, if you were from the Bay, you didn't know, Willie's legacy, then you weren't really paying attention. It didn't matter if you played baseball or not. He was one of those guys I looked up to, just greats from the Bay, Ricky Henderson, Joe Morgan, Frank Robinson. And although Willie wasn't from the Bay, he represented so many years over across the Bay in San Francisco that when you were a black baseball player, you were always somebody. You do you Willie Mays wearing number 24, which I'm not sure if that's where Ricky got it from, but I always had an affection for number 24 because Ricky was my favorite player. Now, I knew I wasn't going to be like Willie, but every once in a while, you try to do something, run the bases, steal a base, make the over-the-shoulder catch. I don't care who you were. If you played baseball, you tried that catch because you seen it. It was the catch. I wanted to make that catch like Willie, and I did it for a couple times in my career. You feel special. Like, are they going to talk about me like they talk about Willie? No, because you're not Willie. But he definitely inspired a lot of things that we see on the field today. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. I'm sending it back for more KNBR right after this.
Everyone likes a party, but everyone loves a party at Original Joe's. With 3 private dining rooms, it's the perfect spot to hold your next big event. From christenings to corporate gatherings, we'll make your next party San Francisco special. Original Joe's, see you at the counter.
Giants fans, there's no better way to set the game day table than talking baseball with Marty Laurie. Marty keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us. As you can tell, there are a couple of technical difficulties coming from the desert here and maybe some power surges, but we lost our connection with Bruce. But Bruce and I were just finishing up saying the Giants need some good young players as we're looking around Major League Baseball with the impact players around the game. Joining us now is Rich Waltz, and of course, Rich, we love having him on. He's a broadcaster, does MLB games, the special games that they do, CBS Sports. We hear him on football and basketball, and of course, he was a long-time play-by-play voice of the Miami Marlins. Rich, how are you today?
I'm good, Marty. The music's playing. Cards are playing long toss. The sun's out, so I'm in St. Louis for tomorrow night's game. I've got the Braves and the Cardinals on MLB Network, but it's my first chance to eyeball the Giants this year and obviously watch the Cardinals play. So I'm good.
Very good. Well, you also were, I saw you Tuesday at Rickwood Field, and that's really what I want to talk to you about, the experience for you. You were, of course, on the air when the news of Willie Mays broke, and you had to bring that news to the audience. You did a fabulous job of doing that. But let's talk about last week for you and just getting ready and Rickwood Field and what it was like for you. And I loved your booth where you were broadcasting from.
Yeah, we were in the same booth as the Fox guys on Thursday, kind of on top of the field. Look, Major League Baseball did an incredible job. When you start to prepare for a game like this, and our game was, a double-A game. It wasn't really our main focus. We were calling the game, but we were there to open up the 3 nights and talk about Rickwood. You walk through that stadium, and it's kind of like stepping on the field at a Yankee Stadium or a Fenway, a Wrigley Field. It's the oldest, obviously, in all of baseball. But the thing that jumped out at me was, society and baseball and so much is involved with Rickwood Field, good and bad. I think John Shea put it best when, I used a lot of his stories going in on prep. I think he said, this is not a field of dreams thing. This is also a field where dreams came to die. So, the historical, the civil rights, the Negro Leagues, the minor leaguers, the barnstormers, and I'm really glad that Reggie Jackson said what he said on Thursday night, because that's even in the '60s, it was hard and painful. So all of that mixed in with baseball, and we certainly had a ton of Willie Mays stuff and the Negro Leagues and that 48 team where he was 17 and all of that. So it was really a surreal deal, right? I mean, you were in the booth probably about 30 minutes before I was told in my ear that he had passed. And you're in his hometown. You're in the ballpark where he got his start. You're at an event that was essentially designed not only to honor the Negro Leagues but also honor Willie. And suddenly you hear that he's passed, and you make that announcement. Part of it was me, the announcer, and the other part was 5-year-old me who would go to Candlestick Park with his dad and see Willie Mays late in his career, but still, when your dad points out to center field and you're 5 and he says, "That's Willie Mays. He's the best in the game." That's impactful, and he certainly was my first sports hero.
Well, you did a great job. Rich Walt's with us, of course, from Martinez, born in Martinez, and went to UC Davis, and he is a Bay Area guy. Boy, when you heard the news, what was your reaction when you heard it?
It was disbelief at first because you're sitting at Rickwood Field. All of those things that you prepared for 2 weeks going into this event, a lot of it was Mays-centric and that era. And then we didn't announce it right away. We had to hold the news until the Giants announced it. But as soon as they did, we had already had a tribute built. We had the commissioner's statement. And I was blessed with the two guys I was working with. Chris Young is just a terrific young broadcaster in terms of experience, but I think he's going to be really good. And we had Roy Wood Jr., the comedian, who was our sideline announcer, and he was the perfect guy to have because he grew up in Birmingham. He played there in high school. His father was a great broadcaster and who covered Dr. King and all the terrible bombings in '63, all of that stuff. So, we had a great team, and ironically for MLB Network, and thankfully, we had my two bosses were in the trucks. So the head of broadcasting and live events, and they were both in the truck, and so that everything they did and everything the team did helped an awful lot. And look, television sports is one of the things that I really love about it. It's a team sport. You win as a team. And it's, in that case, probably 50, 60 people all pulling on the rope at the same time. So, it changed our show, certainly, because we were just about to get into the 1963 and 64, which is why I said I'm glad that Reggie spoke out his experiences in 67. 63 in Birmingham was not a great time. With Bull Connor was the worst of the segregationists. But it was impactful in baseball and in society for a couple things. It brought Jackie Robinson into the picture. He really wasn't a guy that was active in civil rights. He came to Birmingham after one of the bombings, along with Floyd Patterson, the great boxer. That was significant. Martin Luther King, when he came, was fire hoses and dogs. He was arrested, but when he was in jail, he wrote the really impactful letter from a Birmingham jail, and that led him to the March on Washington in '64 and the I Have a Dream speech. The thing that really stood out to me in the prep was I had no idea Charlie Finley had a key role in any of this, but he did. He brought his AA team in '64, and he had black players, and it was the first team to be a minor league affiliate there that had black players. And that forced the hand of a lot of things. It forced Rickwood to end segregated seating. Now black fans and white fans could sit together to watch it. And it wasn't easy. That John Blue Moon Odom was on that team. Campaneris was on that team. There's just some great stories and just stunning stories about Finley, and I think Reggie touched on that in his Fox chat. The one thing that was, really jumped out at me is that Campy got hit by a pitch in '64 in the face. And the GM at the time, I don't know if it was Haywood Sullivan or somebody, took him to the University Hospital, and they would not admit him because of the color of his skin. And the GM stood up to him. And I don't have the name, but Haywood Sullivan was involved with this somehow, and demanded that they do, and they did. They admitted him. And I think Odom got hurt like a month later, and the precedent had been set. So now, all of a sudden, that hospital started to admit and see and treat members of the black population there. That's just, that was the thing about Rickwood. Civil rights, society, Bull Connor, baseball, Negro League legends, Major League legends that played there, 184 Hall of Famers. So there was so much about that stadium that it's just, it was a great experience for me. Wow. It was sad, obviously. But I think, and you were there on Thursday, so in terms of timing for Willie, the timing actually was awesome to be able to celebrate him in his ballpark, in his town. And I thought the Giants and the Cardinals and Major League Baseball just did a wonderful job on Thursday night.
Boy, I'm so glad to have you on this morning. That was a great summation. MLB was lucky to have you at the mic, and I realize it's a team effort, but you were the guy on the mic and had to deliver that news. And now with knowing that background that you knew, I'm sure it was very special for you to be the one who had to do that. And you lived up to it, Rich. You're a pro. Very good. Very good. And just to follow up one quick second there, the Birmingham team had dropped out of the Southern League for 2 years because they would not integrate. And, of course, you're right. Charlie brought the team in, and then Birmingham came back into the Southern League. And I was at the 16th Street Baptist Church to see the church and to hear from a survivor of the bombing of the 4 little girls.
Wow.
To hear that lady speak and took a picture with her. And, boy, that was some trip for me. And I thought I knew a lot. I didn't know half the story that I learned while I was there. Boy, great to have you on. Fabulous. And so you'll be on Monday night. Who are the Cardinals playing Monday night?
I got the Braves. So I've had the Braves already this year. I haven't seen the Cardinals, but I'm in early. Crawford's out early, taking some ground balls. And I got to give a plug for their bench coach, Daniel Descalso, former UC Davis infielder. Got a sweet spot for guys like that. And that, that's the funny thing about the Cardinals. Descalso's the bench coach. Ollie Marmol, obviously, is the third-year manager. They got, on May 11th, they'd lost 7 in a row, and they both got tossed out of a game. And since then, they're 23-13, and now they're a game over. I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but it's kind of odd how that works.
Well, they started hitting. That helped, too. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Boy,
especially.
Have a great afternoon, and thanks so much for being on, Rich. I really appreciate it. It was a great report. Thank you.
Marty, thanks for the invite, and say hi to the Bay Area for me. I'll be down there probably in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Keep in touch. All right, that is Rich Waltz. Boy, right man at the right place this week at Rickwood Field. What a report. All right, more coming up. Katie Wu, who covers the Cardinals for the Athletics, next right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow. For the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talking Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us on this Sunday morning as we get ready for Giants baseball. Giants trying not to get swept in St. Louis. They've been swept 3 times this year. They don't want to make it a 4th. It is Logan Webb and Sonny Gray. A pleasure to bring in one of our favorites, and she's one of the best reporters, I think, in the country. And she writes for The Athletic, and that is Katie Wu. Katie, how are you?
Marty, you are far too kind, but it is great to be with you on Sunday or today, and it was great to see you in Rickwood, at Rickwood Field. I mean, what an incredible experience.
Tell me about your thoughts about being at Rickwood and your reactions to everything.
Well, you know, when the announcement came out last season that it would be the Giants and Cardinals in this prestigious game, I knew it was going to be a must-attend event, and I think I'm still really recovering from it because it was just so impactful, so emotional, the history behind it, seeing all of those players, talking to current players from the Cardinals, from the Giants about what that game meant to them. I could not commend Major League Baseball enough for the presentation that they did, and I hope this is one of many events that we continue to do as an industry to promote so many forgotten players and eras of this game. I mean, I can't tell you how many casual baseball fans I think have been educated and enlightened by that experience, and I think we as the baseball industry need more of that.
Boy, well said, well said. And the Cardinals played a pretty good game. They got the big home run in that game, of course, and look, Ramos hit the big 3-run homer for the Giants. It was a good game. It ended up to be a good game, and we got to see the Cardinal bullpen, which I hadn't seen a lot of, and I got to see a couple of new names for me.
Yeah, you know, this Cardinals bullpen, when you look at the overall record, St. Louis has hovered right around 500 for the entirety of the season, but they have played a lot of close games, Saturday, of course, being the exception, but the majority of their games are decided by 1 or 2 runs. In fact, they lead the National League in games decided by the slimmest margin. And the reason they do that and that they've had success in those games is because of that bullpen. I think most of baseball is familiar with Ryan Helsley, their closer. He leads the major leagues in saves with 25. But you look at guys that like JoJo Romero, Andrew Kittredge, their setup men, Ryan Fernandez, he was a Rule 5 pick. He's really come out and shined. Throughout the board, I think the Cardinals have done really well in restructuring a bullpen that really wasn't built for success last year. It's, to me, in my opinion, been their anchor this season.
Okay, well, you need a good bullpen. You can't do anything without it. And then they had a fellow, I think he made his major league debut, if I'm not mistaken, in that one, Loefenstein or something like that.
Yeah, what a time to make your major league debut. And the reason that Adam Kloffenstein came up was he's actually a starter in AAA. He was acquired in the Jordan Hicks trade when St. Louis traded Jordan Hicks to Toronto. The reason he came up is because the Cardinals actually had to scratch their starter on Wednesday, Kyle Gibson, right before the national anthem and do an impromptu bullpen game. So they had no relief coming into Thursday's game. They brought in Kloffenstein. They were hoping to put him in maybe a lower leverage situation, but you know how baseball is, Marty. You can't script it. He comes in the 8th inning in a 1-run ball game and sets up the closer. And he was telling reporters there that he couldn't see the scoreboard from where the makeshift bullpens were set up. So he had no idea he was coming in the 8th inning to set up the closer until after it happened. So, I mean, what a way to make your debut, but what a nice job from Kloppenstein there.
Yeah, he looked pretty good, too. Big, strong kid. I liked it. Well, you know, Katie Wu with us from The Athletic. The last time you were on, the Cardinals were not doing well. Remember, it was gloom and doom, and that report and ever since then, they've turned it around. What is the big turnaround for this team? What is it?
Yeah, you know, it's funny how quickly baseball can change because it seems like that stretch for St. Louis was so long ago. I think the big key for the Cardinals was they found a way to rally without Wilson Contreras, and that was a devastating blow at the time when Wilson went down with that fractured arm because he was single-handedly supplying the offense. But credit to where credit is due. Some guys have really had to step up, especially with Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, not really hitting for the power that they have done for the majority of their careers. You're looking at the guys at the top of the order. You're looking at Mason Wynn, the dynamic rookie shortstop. You're looking at Alec Burleson, a guy who burst onto the scene as well, same draft class as Mason. Those have made it for a really formidable 1-2 punch at the top of the order, and they've helped supply the offense that's been lacking with Contreras out. They've also been kept afloat by their starting pitching, which is pretty much the exact opposite of what happened last season. The Cardinals rotation, led by Sonny Gray, of course, taking on Logan Webb tonight, they've been really good. I mean, it's all about quality starts. I think when President of Baseball Operations John Mozeliak redid the rotation over the offseason, he targeted these specific veteran guys like Sonny Gray, like Kyle Gibson, like Lance Lynn, because of their experience and because of their durability. You're seeing that along with Miles Michaelis. He had a nice start yesterday, especially after overcoming that rocky first inning. They give these guys innings, and when we talked about the bullpen, when you have a rotation that continuously gives you 6 good quality innings, and you can hand over to a bullpen that's been mostly lights out for the season, you're going to win a lot of ball games. Do they come at close cost? Yes, but at the end of the day, the Cardinals are figuring out ways to win those close ball games, and that's what ultimately matters.
Boy, you know, it's funny. The Giants don't do that right now. They can't get a quality start. I think in the last 18 games, they've got 6 quality starts, and they're using that bullpen all the time. Is Arenado in the lineup today? I know he was hurt yesterday, and Ciani, who made a tremendous catch, he went out. How about those two?
Yes, no Nolan Arenado or Michael Ciani in the lineup today. They are considered day-to-day. Nolan's been kind of through it the last 10 days with various small injuries, but the Cardinals are hopeful that he's not going to miss any time. It's just, you know, it takes a lot for Nolan Arenado to be out of the lineup, so clearly he's feeling some things. And Ciani got a chance to talk to him yesterday. Amazing catch, came at a cost. Said he felt like he got the wind knocked out of him, but the imaging came back. No fracture, mostly clean. So they'll use him day-to-day as well.
Katie, you know, you watch Goldschmidt, and we've seen him for so long, and he kills the Giants. I think he's got the most home runs against the Giants for any active player right now. But that swing, boy, it's an interesting swing. If he could get under the ball and lift it, now you throw that slider away, he'll chase it. But if you get that pitch down and he gets under the ball, man, it's gone. And we got to see it first class yesterday.
Yeah, you know, Marty, I'm not sure any of us were really surprised that Paul Goldschmidt homered against the Giants. I think you can just kind of mark that in as a given anytime these two teams play against each other. But, yeah, you know, I think Goldschmidt he'll be the first to say he's struggled this year. He's had some trouble with the fastball. I've noticed that opposing hitters have really beat up on Jordan Hicks' sinker this year. I think they're hitting over 300. I didn't think that sinker from Hicks to Goldschmidt that ended up over the fence was necessarily a bad pitch. I think Goldschmidt did exactly what you just described. Yeah. And when he has that innate swing of his and he sees a pitch he can connect on, you can still see why Paul Goldschmidt has the status that he does, and you can see why the Cardinals are hopeful the second half, both for him and Nolan Arenado, will bring the results that they expected rather than this really kind of uncharacteristic down year for both of them.
Yeah, 350th home run for Goldschmidt. It seems like they're all against the Giants. Is Craw in the lineup today?
Yes, Brandon Crawford is in the lineup. He's actually standing right next to me. He'll be playing third base again, and I think it's the beauty of baseball, Marty. I mean, you played, I don't know how many games, seems like every single one of them that I've ever seen as a shortstop for the San Francisco Giants, and now all of a sudden he's played his first 2 career games at third base against his old team. But I was joking with him after the Rickwood game that he's well on his way to a Gold Glove at the hot corner because he was indeed 2 for 2 on fielding opportunities. But yeah, I think Brandon Crawford really, I think we should maybe dive into that a little bit more because he really didn't get off to a great start, but there are reasons behind that. Obviously, he signed late in spring, And then he was hit by a pitch in one of his first 2 games back, so he missed the majority of his spring. He didn't really get a chance to get up to game speed, and he was also adjusting to being in the bench role for the first time in his career. And when you look at his April numbers, they really weren't good. And he'd be the first to say that he had to learn how to prep for games that he's not playing in. He's been playing this game for 13 years at the professional level. That's a hard thing to ask of someone, but credit to him, he's done a much better job in figuring out how to prep, how to stay ready, and you're seeing his May to June numbers being a lot better. So credit to Crawford. It's a tough situation, but he's been a great fit for this ball club. He's really helped mentor Mason Wynn. I've enjoyed my time getting to know him, and I'm sure Giants fans continue to have so much love for him.
We love Craw. We love Craw. Yeah, he's the best shortstop they ever had. So I'm glad that he's there, and I'm glad we get to see him play today. Katie, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. We love seeing you, and keep up the good work. And, boy, the Cardinals, all of a sudden, they've got that second wild card spot, and things are going to be very interesting over the summer. So we'll look forward to having you on again, Katie. Thank you.
You know it, Marty. And when these 2 teams play the last series of the regular season, I'm sure it will be very important. But great to talk to you. I'm sure I'll talk soon.
All right, be well. Thanks, Katie. All right, that is Katie Wu. She writes for The Athletic. Boy, a pleasure having her on. All right, we're going to go to Sandra G. talking to CC Sabathia at Rickwood Field, and very good interview from Sandra G. And then we're going to go right to Walter on our Giants warm-up. So more baseball coming up. But Sandra, take it away with CC Sabathia.
Hey, baseball fans, this is Sandra G here, and I'm alongside CC Sabathia as we're taking a stroll down the third base line here at Rickwood Field. CC, what does it feel like for you to be here at Rickwood Field today?
No, it's awesome to be able to be here for the celebration. This is something that, I thought of in my head, when I heard about this game, coming to Rickwood, and I wanted to do a celebration for the community, and, it's been great. It's been beautiful.
I see that you've got your Hammers jersey on for the celebrity softball game. Can you tell me what it means to be representing Hank Aaron, and then on the other side your opponents are the Say Hayes? So paying homage to both Hank Aaron and Willie Mays here in the celebrity softball game at Rickwood Field?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's royalty. When I think about both of those guys, I think of kings, so to be able to honor both of those men is great. And even the captains that we have, Barry, being the Say Hey captains, and, Jeter being the captains of the Hammers. I mean, it's poetic. It's baseball, and it's awesome to be able to be a part of these celebrations.
As a guy coming from the Bay Area, what did Willie Mays mean to you when you were growing up?
He was in the Hall of Fame before I was even born. But for me, I got a text from my uncle last night. He was just talking about, being a 10-year-old and Willie Mays coming to his elementary school. And, he texted me, he was like, I didn't even know who the president was, but I remember who Willie Mays was. So, that impact is directly to me, because I grew up as a baseball player and a baseball fan. So, just the impact that he had on so many people in the Bay, yes, it's crazy.
What can you say about how Willie kind of broke down the barriers, being able to be such a successful player coming from the Negro Leagues, and the impact that he had on baseball overall?
Yeah, no, I mean, his impact on the game is incredible. Obviously, being a 17-year-old player, kid playing here, the talent just speaks for itself. And, anybody that saw him play, will tell you that he's the greatest player to ever play. So it makes sense and feels right to be here.
Thank you so much for your time, CC.
Of course.
Boy, Sandra, great job. Boy, Sandra did a good job, and I'm very happy that she could be at Rickwood Field, and she made that happen. I'm glad that that worked out. Hey, let me say one thing about Georgie Brothers Furniture, our good friends. They've been in South City for over 90 years, and they've got the big sale going on right now about stressless furniture, which I have at home, and it is the best. So starting June 21st and running all the way to August 5th, there's a new stressless promotion. It's called On the Spot Summer Savings. It's very exciting. You can receive an instant rebate of $100 for every $1,000 spent. So the 10% savings is really a lot. It's incredible. So visit the showroom. You can meet with one of Georgie Brothers' professional non-commissioned staff, Michael Passer. And this is one of the largest sales events Stressless is having throughout the whole year. And they have the furniture gallery there at Georgie Brothers, and, of course, there's great Giants memorabilia. But check them out online. 50,000 square foot showroom. They've got everything you could ever want. I've got mattresses there, couches there, chairs there, everything else. So, Georgie Brothers Furniture, since 1933. Online, it's GIORGIBROS.com. That's GeorgieBrothers.com with a BROS for brothers. Remember, if you think about it, tell them that you heard it on our show. Walter Icabalseta, thank you so much for your patience today. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, Marty. How are you doing today?
Well, it's been quite an adventure, having a whole week, going for the whole week at Birmingham and coming back for 2 7 a.m. shows. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but I appreciate your help all week long, and I'm glad that you're doing the show today. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I mean, it has been a tough week for Giants fans, just the play on the field, but also the passing of Willie Mays, and for you to take the time to join us from Rickwood on Thursday with Papa and JD. Really appreciate that, Marty. I mean, the vibe at Oracle, because I was hanging around watching the game on the big screen out there in center field and just talking with Giants fans. It was an incredible moment, and then just seeing everything on display at Rickwood. It was incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was. And I think I said it to you and Pop and JD. It was almost surreal. And I'm a cynical criminal lawyer, and I got spiritual. Really, I had that feeling that there were things happening at that ballpark that were very special. So, yeah, I'm glad to be there, and I'm glad that you guys could cover it as well as you did. I thought KNBR, Walter, did a great job all week with the coverage. Really, just fabulous, I thought.
Yeah, just got to give a shout out to all the shows. I mean, they kind of just, the news came out on Tuesday night, and everyone just kind of, we have group chats on our text threads and everything, and we all just kind of like went to work, and we needed to pay the respects to the legend Willie Mays. So Murph and Marcus and Papa, Lund, JD. I mean, just the coverage over the last couple of days on KNBR was it was proud work. I was proud to be a part of the station.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird time for the San Francisco Giants. They're struggling right now, and they face a tough pitcher today, and lefties are a little bit better against them, and they don't really have a lot of good lefties on the ball club right now. And they got Sonny Gray. Giants have their ace going. They kind of need a win here. You don't want to keep falling further under 500. And someone brought it up yesterday. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, this is the guy that the Giants need desperately on the mound. I mean, Logan Webb has been lights out for going on a little bit over a month, and early on in the season, his road home splits were pretty dramatic, but he has started to play a lot better, pitch a lot better on the road. So that's something that the Giants are going to really need out of him with the 7 innings that he continually puts out there. So Logan Webb, but also just looking at the matchup there, Marty, with Sonny Gray on the mound. I was looking at some guys, and the Giants have some guys that have success, specifically hitting in the 5 and 6 hole with Matt Chapman and Michael Conforto. So those are guys that I am hoping to see that they've adjusted their swings and they are starting to come out of it. So we'll have to see how that matchup goes today and see if the Giants can get back in the winning ways coming back home.
All right, Walter, it's Raph here. I think we lost the connection with Marty, but
all right. Well, then, Raph, I just want to thank Marty for chatting with me about Rickwood and about the Giants, and just breaking it down all weekend long, just with his insight on Willie Mays. So let's just go ahead and get the Giants pregame show, the Giants warm up going. Thanks to Marty, and let's kick it off, Raph.
Seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants warm-up.
Way back there! Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
What's up and good morning. You do have to remember that it is 9 o'clock. You can't wake up the neighborhood and just start screaming, "What's up, Giants fans? What's up, Giants fans?" Good morning to you. And it's been a rough week, as we were talking with Marty Lurie there at the end with our crossover. It's been a rough week for the Giants on and off the field with the passing of absolute legend of Willie Mays at the age of 93. This is my first time to kind of talk about Willie since it all happened. Obviously, I am the producer for Papa and Lund, and we didn't have a show on Wednesday, the immediate aftermath of Willie Mays, but the other shows on KNBR all did a fantastic job at just paying their respects to Willie Mays, and we had an opportunity to get out there at 58 Social. We did our show live with Greg Papa and JD, and we were 20 feet away from the statue. And it was just an incredible sight just to see everyone bringing their flowers and paying their respects and stopping by. And then they'd listen to the show a little bit, and you can see people start to get emotional when you start to talk about Willie Mays. So if anyone wants to chime in and give a Willie Mays story, feel free. I will open up the text line and open up the phone line, 415-808 KNBR. That's 415-808-5627. Go ahead and give me a call if you do have anything to add to Willie Mays, because it was incredible. Rickwood, everything that went down, the presentation that Major League Baseball did for Willie and for the Negro Leagues, and just to pay the ultimate respects to those players that are still around. That obviously it was in place of the Field of Dreams, right? We didn't go to Iowa, we went to Birmingham in Alabama, and coincidentally it was to pay respects to Willie Mays, and he passes away a couple of days before Rickwood. But that's where it all started for Willie. That's where it all started when he was 17 years old. I remember talking to Bob Kendrick, and we were just kind of finishing up on our conversation that we had on Rounding Third and King. And this week I spoke with Katie Wu, and she does a fantastic job at The Athletic. And we talked about that experience of being at Rickwood and just the vibe and just everything that was going on that day. So go ahead and check that out on the KNBR podcast page, Rounding Third and King. But to pay the respects to Willie and to the Negro Leagues on Thursday, it was just incredible. And then being out at the ballpark, talking to Giants fans and just getting their thoughts on Willie and people that have seen him play, or baseball is always an interesting game. I think it separates it from, there's just a romantic element to baseball, to where I don't see it in other sports, and maybe that's just because I'm a baseball head, right? I mean, you look at everything that I have in my setup right now. I got my Willie bobblehead right here. Birmingham Black Barons, wearing that number 8, got that bobblehead, and you look over my right shoulder, I have the catch, and I have other memorabilia of Willie McCovey that you can't see on the camera. But baseball it connects generations, right? It connects generations, and that's something that I knew as a baseball fan, and that I know growing up as a baseball fan, and with family, and that grew up, like my uncle, never saw Willie play, but he remembers the stories, and he would pass that down to me, and it would just continue to go on. And that was a reoccurring theme on Thursday when I was walking around with the KNBR mic and talking to fans in center field, just watching the game, watching Rickwood, watching it all unfold. And you could see, like, I'm here for Willie. I'm here for my grandfather. I'm here for my dad, because they watched Willie and they gave me the love of Giants baseball. So that was incredible. But again, 808 KNBR, if you have anything to add on Willie Mays, go ahead and give me a call, 808-415 or 415-808 5627. That's 415-808 KNBR. I'll open it up to Willie, but also we do have Giants baseball coming up here in just about an hour. We're going to get to the official Giants pregame show, and this is a crucial stretch for the San Francisco Giants. We were talking about it with Marty there, and this is who the Giants need to have on the mound for this particular moment in time where they don't have a rotation. So again, I'm also going to open up the phone lines, 808 KNBR. How concerned are you for the San Francisco Giants going into this stretch where they are trying to fight off a sweep? They have a tough pitcher on the mound with Sonny Gray. He's having a great year. Then you throw up your ace. And this is a game with, no pressure to Logan Webb, but this is a game that he needs to go out there and throw like he has been doing. It's not like he hasn't done it, but he has to go out there and throw 7 innings, 8 innings, maybe get us a complete game shutout. I don't know. Maybe that's too much to ask, but I'm just saying this is a crucial part for the San Francisco Giants because they have 2 guys in the rotation. They have 2 guys in the rotation, possibly Blake Snell returning. Blake Snell will have a update on that. He will be participating in his rehab start today. I believe it's in Sacramento. So yeah, I was looking at going up there, but Blake Snell will be throwing in Sacramento, and then you have Robbie Ray going to throw 3 innings as well. So you're going to want to see that pitch count. But those are guys. These are guys that we are going to have to need sooner rather than later. And I know that Robbie Ray is kind of just starting his progression through his rehab, and if all goes well for Blake Snell, he should in theory be back for the Dodgers series at some point. But when you look past Logan Webb, that's why this start is so huge. You need to set up the bullpen that has just been overtaxed for the entirety of the 2024 season. We saw it last year where we were doing openers and we were doing bullpen games, and the innings started to mount up. Now the contrast with last year, the Giants had success in those games. The Giants were able to piece together parts of the bullpen to have successful outings. But what we saw and what we know for baseball is that once you get into August, once you get into September, the innings start to mount up. So that is something where you look at this bullpen that has been overtaxed. Bob Melvin was talking about the taxing of the bullpen, and he was pretty much just yesterday. It didn't go well for Jordan Hicks. He was overworked, and the heat may have gotten to him. And Bob Melvin pretty much spoke to that after the post game and kind of gave his thoughts on Jordan Hicks's performance, and as that portrayed to or as it shifted to the bullpen. So first, we'll give you the thoughts on Jordan Hicks from Bo Mel after the game and how Jordan Hicks performed in the extreme weather in St. Louis.
A better question for him. He keeps himself in great shape. What I worry about with him sometimes are these day games when it's hot because of his blood sugar, but he manages it pretty well. Obviously there's going to be periods where, the velo is going to be down and maybe not as crisp with some of his breaking stuff, which you're seeing right now. Whether that's where he is in the innings right now, I'm not sure. But the last few games, they've made him work pretty hard.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, is it the heat or is it the stress of Jordan Hicks, throwing the most innings that he's thrown in his major league career. I mean, that's going to be really interesting. He's getting close, I think, to the 90 or to the 100 inning mark as well. But Jordan Hicks, that is someone that the Giants are going to want to give a breather at some point. That's also innings limits, right? When you look at Kyle Harrison, when you look at Jordan Hicks, when we get into the later part of the season, but that's also why, Jordan Hicks goes 4 or 5 innings. That's about it. That's his bread and butter. He goes 5 innings and then the bullpen has to come in. And that's part of the reason why the Giants bullpen is taxed as much as they can, or as much as they are. You look to the Blake Snell starts and all of that, just that spot in the rotation, not just only starts with Blake Snell, but just that spot specifically in the rotation. That's always been like a 7-inning outing for the bullpen, 6-7 innings. It's been brutal. So Bob Melvin also discussed the taxing of the bullpen, and that's where we get into the concern. Are you concerned of the San Francisco Giants? What's the biggest concern actually right now? 808 KNBR. What's the biggest concern? Is it, I know a lot of Giants fans were concerned about the offense. I know that the offense was a point of emphasis for the entirety of the season. I think that the offense is actually doing okay. I mean, they scored 4 runs. You're not going to win a game if you allow 9. I'm just saying that. You're not going to win a game if you allow 9 runs. But just the entirety of this week, they've given up 9. They've given up 6. They've given up 6. They've given up 5. It's just the pitching staff, which ranks in the bottom. I think it was the 6th worst in Major League Baseball. with their ERA above 4. They just aren't pitching well as a whole. So, but that can be attributed, especially with the bullpen woes, that could be attributed to being overused. So Bob Melvin had his thoughts on the bullpen being overused at this point in the season, and if he's concerned about the bullpen moving forward.
Yeah, it's been a lot, and had to cover 4 more today in a down game. So, we've tried to chase a couple of games. We have some guys with extreme workloads at this point. Walker, Miller, and Tyler's workloads are extreme. So we got to find a way, even in games that we're ahead, to take a little bit off their plate. And Jelly's a guy that can do it. Unfortunately, he had to pitch 2 innings today as well. Randy's maybe a guy, that can too. But we got to take a hard look at that right now, because you're looking at, half the games more, I think, a little bit for a couple of these guys. It's a lot. It's 3 of them that are in the top 10 that make things feel a little uncomfortable.
415-808-KNBR. That's 415-808-5627. Go ahead, give me a call. What is your biggest concern? You heard it there from Bob Melvin. He was concerned about the overusage of the bullpen. Are you concerned that we only have a 2-man rotation? It's Jordan Hicks and Logan Webb. Logan Webb on the mound today to try to put a stop to the bleeding for the San Francisco Giants. They have lost 4 in a row, 5 games under 500, and they're in a huge bunch of just every team. Literally, I was looking at it, and I was like, how can I word this? It's literally every team is ahead of the Giants right now, except for the Rockies and the Marlins. So we'll talk about that on the other side. We will talk more about this Giants pitching matchup with Logan Webb and Sonny Gray. But your thoughts on the other side, go ahead and give me a call, 415-808-KNBR, 415-808-5627. How concerned are you about the Giants moving forward? And as they go down this stretch, they have a huge series with the Cubbies coming to town tomorrow with a 4-game series, and then they have the Dodgers coming to town for 3. Ohtani just hitting tanks left and right. Hopefully we don't see that too much at 24 Willie Mays Plaza. We'll talk more about the Giants game today on the other side. You're listening to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
KNBR Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the Sports Leader.
Welcome back to the Giants warm-up show. Good morning to all of you listening on KNBR, and it is popping off in the YouTube chat right now. We are live on YouTube and Twitch. Go ahead and get in there if you want to give your thoughts. If you don't want to call in or text in, go ahead and drop in there. We got the regulars. We got Greg trying to talk him off of just being negative. Gotta love Greg. Gotta love Greg in there every morning. Got a rockin' new era. Got Victor. Victor was in here earlier. I don't know where Victor went, but we are having a lively conversation in the YouTube chat. So go ahead and drop in there as well. 808 KNBR is the number. What is your level of concern? The Giants taking on the Cardinals today, 11:15 first pitch, 10:15 for the official pregame show. I believe we will be talking with Joe Rizzo, talk about this Giants team. Just what is the level of concern? We will get you a lineup here in a little bit, but we do have Mike in San Francisco on the line, sharing his biggest fears. Mike, welcome to the Giants warm-up show. What's your biggest fear, man? How you doing this morning?
Hey, Walter. It's nice to meet your voice with my voice. Biggest fear this morning, I'm doing pretty good. Biggest fear this morning is the same it's been for a while. It's team philosophy and coaching implementation of team philosophy. But I'll just get into a couple of the brief things that I constantly struggle with, that like pitch counts and the way we burn out arms and the way our batters seem to wait the first time through the order and stare at a lot of strikes down the middle in order to try to play Billy ball, which, we're not the Dodgers and the New York Yankees combined here. We can't stand at first base and expect to get to the playoffs. And those teams don't win World Series anyways. Like, who was in the World Series last year? It's a little bit of a rant, but it was Texas and it was Arizona. And we know Bochy coaches scrappy teams, and Arizona was most definitely a scrappy team that just played baseball. So that's my biggest concern. And of course, I'm going to root for the team anyways. But I don't know, man. This pitching situation could get ugly this week. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, the pitching. Thanks for the call, Michael. Really appreciate it, man. And was that Ralph? Was that Michael K? That was Michael from the chat.
No, that was one of our guys.
Dude, yeah, the chat coming in strong. Michael, really appreciate you calling and continue to talk with us in the chat, man. Really appreciate you with the call. But you laid out a lot of concerns. I mean, that typically you'd want, especially at this point in the season, you'd want one level, you want one aspect, but there are areas of concern, and it all is kind of related. I'm just going to kind of blanket all of that, and kind of Michael was getting to it at the end of the call, was the pitching staff. The pitching staff coming into 2024, into this season, when you were looking at it, that was supposed to be the strength of the San Francisco Giants team. Then injuries has hindered that. Keaton Wynn started off really good. Then he got hurt, and before he got hurt, he started struggling with his command, and there was possibly of tipping pitches, but we're not going to get into that. But Keaton Wynn was not pitching well, and now he's on the IL, and he's gone once again. Then you look at Kyle Harrison. Kyle Harrison was having a decent season. It wasn't anything spectacular, but he was having a good season to this point. And then he gets hurt in his workout. He gets scratched from his start, and he's potentially going to come back in July. And then you even just going back with Tristan Beck, he was supposed to be the fifth guy in this rotation. and he got hurt. So, I mean, you start looking at all of these injuries, and Robbie Ray was already on the injured list, and he was starting the season on the injured list. So was Alex Cobb. We all knew that those injuries were part of the Giants going into 2024, but the strength of this team, and it still potentially could be, I mean, I don't want to get super negative. I'm just saying that it could still potentially be the strength of this team once all cylinders are hitting, because Blake Snell was brought in, and he was brought in to be that ace 1B to Logan Webb 1A, who's on the mound later today. He was supposed to be that guy to take the weight off of the shoulders of Logan Webb. Now, Logan Webb has weathered that storm, and he has continued to be the leader and gone out every fifth day to be that consistent presence, that consistent leadership on the mound. And there's been a couple of hiccups here and there with Logan Webb earlier in the season, but as of this past month, I mean, this guy is pumping out 6 innings, 7 innings, 7 innings. He has the most 7-inning starts in all of the majors. So Logan Webb is leading by example, and he is the top of the food chain of this Giants rotation. But what comes after that? Jordan Hicks started really well at the beginning of the year, but there's also the factor of stress on his arm, innings count. There is going to be innings limits once we get to that point in the season. Now, yesterday, the heat exhaustion, I mean, yeah, that took a lot out of him. And when he does start again in 5 days, I believe that will, what will that be? That would be his start against the Dodgers. Will that be Friday night? So when he gets back home and the cool breeze of the Bay, Jordan Hicks will be effective. I do believe that. But once you start to go further down into the season and you start looking at this rotation, literally the rotation is not lined up for the next 3 days. There is no, as far as what I've seen so far this morning, there's no indication as to who is going to be pitching. I mean, are we going to go with Carson Seymour, who his last time pitching was on the 18th, so he would be slated to potentially pitch tomorrow or pitch on Tuesday. He can be called up from Sacramento, and he's been having a decent start or a decent month of June. I have his numbers here really quick if I pull it up, but he's been pitching pretty decent, so he could be an option later this week. Carson Seymour, last pitch on the 18th, and in the month of June, he has a 1.76 ERA, only allowed 3 runs, and that came off of one swing of the bat, home run in his, I think it was in his early or last start. I'm not exactly sure when, but it was only 3 runs this month, 1 home run. Then you look at Carson Wisenhunt. I mean, he last pitched also, when you start looking at when these guys last pitched, Carson Wisenhunt pitched on June 19th. So he can be an option moving forward this week. It's just going to be a really interesting patchwork that the Giants coaching staff and this organization is going to have to do following the start of Logan Webb. But it all starts today with Logan Webb on the mound. Logan Webb really has to kind of reset this rotation or reset this bullpen, because they have been taxed heavily because they haven't had guys in the rotation. And like I mentioned, Kyle Harrison could be coming back. That's best case scenario, that he comes back on the first week of July. Blake Snell, it was said that if he does well today, that he could potentially be back for the weekend series, and Robbie Ray is scheduled to throw. By the way, if you're in the Sacramento area, or if you're just hanging around, go check out the River Cats. I mean, they have a lot of guys going. Got Jack Leiter pitching for the Round Rock Express. You can go check that out. The Texas Rangers pitching prospect. You can go check that out. But Blake Snell is going to be pitching today, and Robbie Ray is scheduled to throw 3 innings. And you got Lamont Wade Jr. That is a huge point to come back, because it's something that Marty dropped off at the end of our conversation. And when we were talking about the Giants, is they don't have left-handed hitters that can be effective, and the Giants are really missing Lamont Wade Jr. So we'll get out to the phones. 808-415 415-808 KNBR. That's 415-808-5627. Just let me know, what are your level of concern for the San Francisco Giants? Is it the rotation? Is it the bullpen? Is it both? Is it the offense? What are the concerns, or are there none concerns? Are there no concerns at this point in the season? Because we were talking about the Giants only being ahead of 2 teams, right, in the National League, and that's ahead of the Colorado Rockies and ahead of the Miami Marlins. But factor that in, they're all jumbled. They're all 3 games apart from each other. This is an early part of the season. So the fact that the Giants and no one in the National League is running away with it as far as the wild card race, the fact that it is staying close to this point, is that a little bit of a glimmer of hope? Because when the Giants start to get healthy, does that change your mind? Because when they get healthy and they start hitting on all cylinders, they could potentially run away from all these teams that are still middling around the middle of the pack. I believe only the 3 teams that currently have a wild card spot, the Braves, the Cardinals, and Padres. Is it Padres? Diamondbacks. Those are the only teams that are above 500. Everyone else is below 500. So that's kind of where the Giants are floating right now. So they get healthy, they get on a roll, they can really be in the mix when we go into the summer months and when we get into August. So go out to the phone lines, your level of concern. We have Jeff in Chico. What's up, Jeff? Welcome to the Giants warm-up show this morning. How are you feeling?
Feeling good, optimistic. Here's the best case scenario. Blake Snell comes back and he's like Cy Young again. It could happen. Robbie Ray comes back and he's Cy Young again. It could happen. A couple years ago, the Braves were 500 in August, caught fire, and went to the World Series. It could happen. I am optimistic.
Yeah, I love it. And that's the thing. Thank you so much for the call, Jeff. But yeah, that's the thing, is that this Giants team is teetering around 500. They're currently 5 games below. But when you look at everyone in the wild card race, I mean, no one is running away with it. It's literally I'm looking forward here. It's literally the Diamondbacks, Pittsburgh, Washington, Chicago, who come in for a huge 4-game series. That's why the rotation problem is the biggest concern for me, because they have a huge 4-gamer coming up with a team that is directly in front of them and that they just faced off against. I mean, when you looked at the schedule, 7 games against the Cubs in 10 games, that you knew that was going to be grueling. Then you had to go to Wrigley, then you come back after being in St. Louis. I mean, it was just a interesting stretch of baseball. But you look at all those teams. You have Arizona, Pittsburgh, Washington, Chicago. Then you have the Mets and the Reds, but they're all separated by a few games. So when the Giants, and what Jeff just said, he's optimistic. When this team gets healthy, when they start getting guys back in the rotation, is this a team that can compete, and a team, because all we know, we Giants fans know, you have a rotation, you have a shot in the postseason. So we'll continue this conversation on the other side, and we'll look at today's matchup. I'll get you the lineup as well. Logan Webb on the mound, road warrior. He wasn't that at the beginning of the year, but he has really turned it around in his last couple of starts on the road, especially his last 4, going back to, I believe it was May 20th in Pittsburgh, where he was lights out, and follow that up in New York. So we'll talk about Logan Webb on the other side, and maybe get your thoughts on another topic. Giants All-Star. Is it Logan Webb or is it Elliot Ramos? We'll talk about that on the other side. You're listening to the Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, Beat Sports Leader.
Welcome back to our KNBR Giants warm-up on the Sports Leader.
All right, welcome back to almost. Thank you, Rap. Almost said Rounding Third and King. I've been doing that too much. Go ahead and check that out. Rounding Third and King on the KNBR podcast page is a weekend podcast that airs on the weekend in the wee mornings of KNBR. I think it was on today at like 5 in the morning. So, but it's also on KTCT. So go ahead and check that out. I had a lovely conversation with Katie Wu talking about Rickwood Field. But welcome back to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR, the Sports Leader. We're talking about the Giants. We're talking about Logan Webb being the road warrior. And is he your 2024 representative for the San Francisco Giants in the Midsummer Classic at the All-Star game? Is he someone that will get the nod, or is it Elliot Ramos? Because Elliot Ramos has been someone that has really gotten it going this month alone. I mean, when you start looking at who he's in the conversation with, just really quick, a look at my diamond notes coming up. Who's hitting the lumber? It's Elliot Ramos. He has been giving himself. He has had an incredible month of June. He's tied for the second most RBIs with Baltimore's Anthony Santander, and he has 8 home runs on the month. That's tied with Aaron Judge and Candelario of the Cincinnati Reds. It only trails Ohtani, Royce Lewis, and Santander in all of baseball. So Elliot Ramos having himself a hell of a month. Doing all of that while hitting .313 with a 1,035 OPS. So open up the phone lines there, 415-808-KNBR. That's 415-808-5627. Who is your Giants All-Star here as we get closer to the Fall Classic? But looking at today's game for the Giants and the Cardinals, Giants are trying to fight off a sweep once again, and Greg in there in the chat, he says, I just don't want to sweep. I just don't want to sweep. It's okay, Greg. We'll be okay. We are here to support Greg, everyone. But the Giants, Logan Webb, road warrior. It was not the case earlier this year. He had like a 6 ERA on the road. It was not looking good, and you had that outing at Fenway, and you had the outing in Philadelphia. It was just it was looking rough at the beginning of May, but he has really turned it around since then, really at home and on the road. But on the road, in his last four starts, he has only allowed 6 earned runs in 27 innings pitched. So it's about like 6. Obviously, he goes 6-7, 6-7. That's just that's something that Logan Webb does all the time. So again, is that worthy of an all-star nod? I mean, he has pitched the most 7th inning outings of all of baseball. That is really telling just where the state of baseball is. But Logan Webb is the only consistent for the San Francisco Giants pitching staff, and that is something that 559 on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line texted in. It was just pretty much, there's so many things. They listed out a whole things, but pretty much the gist of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different elements that 559 listed. But the gist of the text is consistency. There has not been consistency for the San Francisco Giants, but Logan Webb has been the one consistent element in the Giants rotation. Again, he has allowed 6 earned runs in his last 4 starts in 27 innings pitched. That is a 2 ERA on the road. Not last starts, on the road, his last road starts. So look for Logan Webb to continue to keep that rolling. But when you look at the San Francisco Giants, who is your all-star? At the beginning of the year, you kind of always pivot to Logan Webb, and Logan Webb is the leader for the San Francisco Giants team. But is the leader always going to be your all-star? Because right now, I mean, the argument could be made for Elliot Ramos. Elliot Ramos is having a hell of a month of June. He has been the shot to the arm that we all thought that Luis Matos was going to be. Luis Matos called back up here again, so he's getting an opportunity. He's not in the lineup today. I'll get you the lineup there shortly. But when you look at this San Francisco Giants team, is Ramos your clear-cut all-star? Or is it Logan Webb? I think that is your two candidates here for the San Francisco Giants to get their all-star in there. But I would make the case for Elliot Ramos, and this would be the first time that a homegrown, not a first time, but a first time in a long time, first time in my lifetime, that a homegrown outfielder would go all the way back to the days of Chili Davis, so 40 years ago. That was the last time that there was a homegrown outfielder to make the all-star team. Again, everyone, Barry Bonds wasn't homegrown. I mean, he kind of was homegrown. He went to Sierra High School, but he was in Pittsburgh and came here, obviously. But who is your all-star for the San Francisco Giants? 831 on the text line on Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line says that it's simple. Webb, just because he's our best player right now. It was Wade until he got hurt. That's really interesting because that is something that I was looking at as well, but I was also looking at everyone else at first base for Lamont Wade Jr. because you have to look at position availability as well. Because when you look at everyone else lined up, you don't have Ronald Acuna in the outfield. You don't have all the mainstay. I mean, obviously, Bryce Harper was an outfielder, but he's now qualifying as a first baseman. So when you start looking at the outfield, there is potentially a possibility that you look at Elliot Ramos making the All-Star team. Because when you look at first base, and that was a conversation that we were having when Lamont Wade was here, and hopefully he will be back at some point. He is starting his rehab assignment today. If you are in the Sacramento area, go head out to Sutter Health Park and catch some ball and watch Blake Snell and watch Robbie Ray and watch Lamont Wade Jr. I mean, you got the San Francisco Giants. You literally have the San Francisco Giants on full display today in Sacramento at Sutter Health Park. So yeah, when you look at Lamont Wade Jr. when he was pretty much getting on base at will, I mean, he was the kind of key machine to the San Francisco Giants offense early in the year, and he will be a huge shot to the arm when the Giants or when he comes back to the Giants. I know that he was attempting to come back for the Rickwood game, but that just wasn't in the cards. But when he does come back, he will be a contributing factor. He's an on-base machine. But does that constitute as being an all-star? When you look at the position, when you look at everyone else that is at first base, when you look at Freddie Freeman, when you look at Matt Olson, I mean, when you start looking at everyone else in the position group for first base, was Lamont Wade ever going to have that opportunity? I mean, the argument could be made for Lamont. I'm not saying that, but it's pretty interesting. But when you look at Elliot Ramos, I think that he does have a chance to make the All-Star team this year. But when you look at Elliot Ramos, he is in the lineup today. We will get you that lineup here coming up. Just got to pull it up really quick. I believe leading off the top of my head, it is Brett Wisely. I think he's at second base. My page is not loading. Here we go. We got the lineup for the Giants taking on Sonny Gray today, 11:15, first pitch. You got Brett Wisely at shortstop, not second base or shortstop. Shortstop. Brett Wisely at shortstop. You have Elliot Ramos batting second in center field. Patrick Bailey batting third behind the plate. You have Jorge Soler, who Jorge Soler has been one of the he has really turned it around in the last week. Like to see what he's doing, and he's getting to the ball a lot quicker. And just every time that he hits it, I mean, God, man, that guy, it's just a rocket off of his bat. It's going to start finding holes. I mean, these players, these major league players are going to start getting out of the way because that ball is coming off that bat at extreme velocity for Jorge Soler, but he is batting cleanup in the DH spot. You have Matt Chapman batting third, who has some success against Sonny Gray. You have Michael Conforto in left field batting sixth, who also has some success against Sonny Gray as well. You have Tyro Estrada batting seventh at second base, Trenton Brooks at first base batting eighth, and you have Austin Slater batting ninth in right field. So just to run through it one more time, you have Brett Wisely, Elliot Ramos, Patrick Bailey, Jorge Soler, Chapman, Michael Conforto, Tyro Estrada, Trenton Brooks, and Austin Slater. And on the mound for the San Francisco Giants is Logan Webb, their starter, their ace, their leader, their stopper. That's what they need today for the San Francisco Giants to get on the right track, just to reset the bullpen. Needs to go 7 innings. Ideally, he'd go complete game, but when was the last time we saw that? So, but we're going to need a lot of innings out of Logan Webb today against the St. Louis Cardinals, and Sonny Gray is pitching for the Cardinals, a former teammate of Matt Chapman and Bomel player. I guess it's a Bomel series here, but we will continue this conversation on the other side. I'll get you a standings update. We kind of did it earlier today, but I'll officially get you the standings update as we get closer to Giants pregame show starting in about close to 15 minutes, about 20 minutes away. So we'll take a quick break here, get you that standings update on the other side, and we'll continue this conversation. Who is the all-star for the San Francisco Giants? And what is your level of concern for the San Francisco Giants? And what area are you most concerned about? 808 KNBR is the number. We'll continue the conversation on the other side. You're listening to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
We're getting you in the mood for a crazy crab sandwich, some garlic fries, a cha-cha bowl, and some orange and black baseball. KNBR's Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to the Giants warm-up show at KNBR 680, the sports leader. I don't know, Raph, cha-cha bowls, they don't really sound good at 10 o'clock in the morning.
I'll take one. I'll take anything right now.
Take it anytime. Take it anytime. But welcome back to the Giants warm-up show here. The Giants taking on the St. Louis Cardinals, trying to avoid the sweep. They have lost 4 in a row, 5 games below 500, but they are still in it, everyone, because we are going to now give you the moment you all been waiting for. And I kind of did it earlier, but I'm just going to do it again. The standings updates sponsored by the Alameda County Probations Department. Visit joinacpd.org today for a career that matters. So we were pretty much talking about the Giants. Again, they are 5 games below 500. They are 11 games back of the first place Los Angeles Dodgers, who are coming to town this weekend, starting on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday series. And I think Saturday is the day that a lot of Dodger fans are going to be coming to the ballpark. So proceed with caution. But the Dodgers are in first place in the National League West at 48-31. You have the San Diego Padres, who are 41-40. The only team in the West that is above 500 with the Dodgers. You have right behind them the Arizona Diamondbacks, 1 game back of 500, 38-39. The Giants right there, 36-41. And the Rockies all the way at the bottom, 27-50. Again, the Giants 11 games back from the Dodgers in the National League West, losers of 4 straight. And the Padres are winners of 4 straight. That's notable as well. Just the fluidness of the standings. But what we want to look at, what we want to pay attention to, because the NL West is what we are looking at. But you got to pay attention to that wild card, especially at this point in the season as we move closer to the summer months and to the halfway point. I mean, we're pretty much there. But the wild card standings as it is today, the Atlanta Braves are 42-32, having that first wild card spot. Then you have the St. Louis Cardinals at 38-37. Again, another team that's above 500. And the final team that is above 500 in this wild card cluster is the San Diego Padres at 41-40. But then you have the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Washington Nationals, the Chicago Cubs, the New York Mets, the Cincinnati Reds. Then you find your San Francisco Giants. Giants are only a half game back of the Reds, 1 game back of the Mets and Cubs, 1.5 games back of the Nationals and the Pirates, and 2 games back of the Diamondbacks, and 3 from that final wild card spot. So again, I mean, there's a lot of teams, and that's kind of what this the added wild card does is you don't know who's going to be buyers or sellers until like maybe a week before. Literally a week can derail or push someone into contending. That's kind of where the Giants are fluttering right now. Is they are 5 games below 500. But I don't think that this is going to be a team that is going to be sellers, but this is a huge time period for the San Francisco Giants when you are looking at the schedule. They have the Cubs and the Dodgers, and just to pull up the schedule here, I want to say that they're playing the Braves after the Dodgers series. So it's good. It's a really huge stretch for the San Francisco Giants. Yeah, they go 4 games for the Cubs, 3 against the Dodgers at home. Then they have the off day on Monday, July 1st, but then they are in Atlanta for 4th of July week, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Then they go to Cleveland. Then they have Toronto. That's going to be interesting because Toronto can potentially be sellers at the deadline too. Is that a look at Vlad Jr.? I believe Bo Bichette landed on the IL, so I don't know if he'll be in the game when the Blue Jays come to town. And then you have Minnesota coming in, and then you have the All-Star break. So it's going to come really quickly for the Dodgers, and after the All-Star break, they go to Colorado, and 4 for Los Angeles. It's just a huge stretch. 4 after they're in Colorado, 4 in Los Angeles at Chavez Ravine. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this Giants team can do. This stretch coming up here after this game against Sonny Gray and the St. Louis Cardinals, they are trying to avoid a sweep. They're trying to stop the bleeding. They turn to their ace, Logan Webb, to do so. But coming up this week, I mean, it's going to be real patchwork for the San Francisco Giants. Who is going to be that guy that steps up? Is it going to be Mason Black? But I mean, he hasn't been pitching too well in the PCL as of late. You have Kai-Wei Tang, who has a ballooned ERA. Landon Roop is on the IL. So then you start looking at, okay, is it potentially going to be Hayden Birdsong? Hayden Birdsong has been pitching pretty good in the minors. Is he someone that's going to get a spot start here, an emergency call up? Because that is what the situation calls for. You can't go bullpen games. Maybe you throw one of them in there, but you can't keep doing it. You can't keep taxing the bullpen as much as they have to this point in the regular season. So it's going to be really interesting to see the moves, the corresponding moves that come, because when you look at, Birdsong, and you look at Carson Whisenhunt, and you look at, I think Carson Seymour is on the 40-man roster. I'm not entirely sure, but Carson Whisenhunt is not. So some of these guys that are going to get call-ups, it does require a 40-man move. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Giants piece this together. But yeah, I mean, you look at Carson Whisenhunt and Carson Seymour, maybe those are guys that are going to get the opportunity. Blake Snell is starting his rehab tonight, or today rather, in a few hours in Sacramento. Then you have Robbie Ray following that up, and Alex Cobb should be throwing a bullpen here in a couple of days to ramp up his situation. So again, when you start looking at this Giants rotation, and it's almost non-existent, you have Logan Webb and Jordan Hicks and no one else. Hopefully Kyle Harrison can come back the first week of July, and he can be ready to contribute and just have, again, consistency in the rotation. But Blake Snell, hopefully everything goes well today in Sacramento, then he can be up later this week. But that is the current situation for the San Francisco Giants, a huge stretch for the Giants. But that was the standings update there, sponsored by Alameda County Probation Department. But again, the wild card is wide open. It's wide open. There is plenty of opportunity for the San Francisco Giants to move forward. They just have to get healthy. They have to get healthy. The offense has to get going. And once they start getting these pieces back, it's kind of similar to the situation with the Warriors in a sense, the basketball team in the Bay. It's kind of similar to their situation, to where you didn't really know what kind of team you had, and you never really figured it out because the team was just never as a whole. This team has not been as a whole at any point. I don't even think that you can consider spring training at that point, because Blake Snell comes in and he's barely with the club, and then the season starts and he's getting his opportunity and ramping up. But yeah, this team just has not been itself. It hasn't been what it can potentially be. So when we move forward in this season, when you look at Blake Snell, and you heard it there from Jeff and Chico, he's really optimistic, and I don't know if he was tongue in cheek, but he was really optimistic with Blake Snell coming back and potentially being the Cy Young Award, winner of last year, a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, coming back and being that version of himself. That's something that the Giants really need. They need not necessarily the leadership, but they need the consistency out of this rotation. Honestly, I mean, Jordan Hicks has pitched good. Yesterday was not a good outing for him, but I have confidence in him for the next couple of starts. But then when you get later into the season, that's where it gets a little dicey, where you see the innings count and the wear and tear on the arm. That's going to be really interesting to follow down the road. But you do have these reinforcements coming in the rotation for the San Francisco Giants. And today, again, they are turning to their ace, their road warrior as of late. Their last 4 starts on the road for Logan Webb. He has a 2 ERA, only allowed 6 earned runs, 27 innings pitched, and that was in Pittsburgh. That was in New York, in Queens. That was in Texas. And where was his last road start? I don't remember where his last road start was, but it was in Chicago. It was Chicago on Tuesday night. And just going back to that night, I mean, we opened up talking about Willie Mays and just the class and the leadership qualities that Logan Webb showed on that night, and to do what he did. I mean, he pitched well enough to win. He got a no decision, but he pitched well enough to win on that night. So hopefully the Giants bats can get going. Like I mentioned, the matchup to look at here with the Giants and Sonny Gray is Matt Chapman and Michael Conforto. They have good numbers against them. Jorge Soler does not have good numbers against Sonny Gray. I think he was hitting 100 average against Sonny Gray, but he has been hitting really well over the last week. He's hitting 333 with a couple of homers and 9 RBIs, and he's just putting a really, really solid swing on the ball as of late. So this offense got to get run support for Logan Webb. That is what the Giants need moving forward in this game. That they really need to. And when you look at Sonny Gray, he hasn't given up the long ball. So the Giants have to find ways to manufacture runs outside of hitting homers. The long ball, he's only given up 1 at home. I don't know how many he's given up on the season. Maybe I think maybe 2 or 3 on the season, but he's only given up 1 at home, and that was the one and only one was back in May. So don't look for the long ball here. They have to find ways to manufacture runs against Sonny Gray. So the Giants coming up here with the St. Louis Cardinals. They are trying to avoid the sweep, take those brooms, keep them at home, avoid the sweep, and come back home, get the vibes going. And tomorrow, get out to the ballpark. I believe everyone was there is going to be a ceremony for Willie Mays to remember Willie Mays when the Giants do return home against the Cubs. So get out to the ballpark early for sure. I'll be out there as well. So the Giants, the lineup, Logan Webb and Sonny Gray, and giving you the lineup one more time before we toss to the official Giants pregame show. And we'll be talking with Joe Rizzo to talk about this San Francisco Giants team. But leading off is Brett Wisely at shortstop, Elliot Ramos batting second in center field, Patrick Bailey batting third, catcher, Jorge Soler batting fourth in the DH spot, Chapman batting fifth at third base, Michael Conforto batting sixth in left, Tyro Estrada second base batting seventh, Trenton Brooks batting eighth at first, and Austin Slater batting ninth in right field. Wisely, Ramos, Bailey, Soler, Chapman, Conforto, Estrada, Brooks, Slater, and Logan Webb, your leader for the San Francisco Giants on the mound to stop the bleeding. Coming up next, Giants pregame show on KNBR, the sports leader.